We're still dealing with the aftermath of Milton. It looks like things weren't so bad, but still pretty devastating. And there have been several deaths. So as more information comes out, I just hope that the damage will be minimal and that everybody's okay. I know not everybody's okay, but, you know, as for Hurricane Helene, it's important to understand. We had a great caller on the members only show last night pointing out that just after 9/11, the death count was in the dozens. And that's because they don't know who's missing and who died when they began to do identification of those who lost their lives, as well as start to realize that some of those people who are missing had actually lost their lives. That's when the death count began to rise because it was confirmed. And so this is true for these storms as well. So again, hoping for the best for everybody. But in political news, my friends, Epstein victim Virginia Giuffre is backing Donald Trump, sending out a tweet to Elon Musk saying, let the list be released. She knows Trump. Now, these leftists, these liberals, they put up these billboards. I saw them when I was in North Carolina a few months ago. And it's just a billboard with a picture of Donald Trump standing next to Epstein or next to Ghislaine Maxwell, because they're trying to make it seem like Donald Trump is somehow part of that whole thing. But you know what? Donald Trump said, we're going to release the information. Elon Musk said to Tucker Carlson, billionaire Democrats who are backing Kamala, like Reid Hoffman, like Bill Gates, are terrified. Well, now you've got Virginia Giuffre. She's an actual trafficking victim of Epstein coming out and saying, let's release this list, and that she knows Trump and she hopes he becomes president. Now, that says a lot. You're going to try and smear Donald Trump because you saw him at a party with Epstein, but I ain't even playing those games, right? I want to get to the bottom of whatever was going on with Epstein. I think it's important to get to the bottom of whatever's going on with Diddy. But I also think it's fair to say not every single person in the periphery of these individuals did anything wrong. So there was that big Jimmy Kimmel fiasco where people thought he was going to be implicated because his best friend, was the chef or worked for Epstein. And I'm like, just because someone's name appears in documents doesn't mean they were hanging out at the guy's island. So I understand that. And the same is true for, I defend Jimmy Kimmel in that regard. Yeah, look, his friend knew the guy. Like, does that mean he's involved? Just because Donald Trump's seen at a party or whatever doesn't mean Trump had any idea what was going on. In fact, Trump actually banned the guy from Mar-a-Lago, as reports suggest. All that matters is this. Don't take my word for it. My opinion, what does that mean, right? I like Trump. I think he'll be a better president. But one of the victims of the Epstein trafficking, let's just call it conspiracy, because that's what it was, is backing Donald Trump. So we're going to talk about that. We got a bunch of other stories. The subreddit that was investigating the Trump would-be assassin, Thomas Crooks, has been shut down. Very interesting. We got AOC. It sounds like she's calling for violence because there's talk of Kamala removing an FTC chair. And I'm like, this is a weird story. We'll talk about that. Plus, in Vegas, guess what? Donald Trump's betting odds have skyrocketed. He's now up 6.6 points in aggregate across all the betting markets. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have fun this morning. So smash that like button, subscribe, and don't forget to head over to castbrew.com to buy Cast Brew coffee because it actually is really good. Everybody loves Appalachian Nights. We can't sell enough. We just sell too much. And so I suggest try it out. Cast Brew, of course, is our coffee brand. And for those of you who like our skateboard art collection, head over to boonieshq.com. The Boobies Boards is a sleeper success. And it is just a skateboard that says The Boobies with a picture of a blue-footed booby. And I'm like, why are so many people buying this board? I mean, I want one. So we actually ordered some custom for ourselves. But everybody just loves the doofy booby bird. It's called a blue-footed booby. But we do have Step on Snack and Find Out. That's cool. We got a little cute little cartoon snake saying, don't you tread on me, right? Right? That's what it's all about. And of course, as always, head over to timcast.com and click Join Us to become a member and support our work directly. Because here's the truth, my friends. Without your membership, none of this exists. If you think the show is good, well, we do the show for free. We do have sponsors and things like that, but that doesn't sustain everything we do. So I just put it like this. You can watch the show for free if you so choose, so be it. But we humbly request that if you do like the work we do, you go to timcast.com, you join us, become a member, join the Discord server, hang out with like-minded individuals. And that's a pay what you will model, we call it. If you like the show, you pay for it. If you don't, well, watch for free, I guess, and you can rag on me in the comments. But also share the show if you'd like. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen, please leave us a good review. It really, really does help. But let's jump into the news, my friends. We got this from the Vigilant Fox. Great account on X, by the way, at Vigilant Fox. Says, huge. Epstein victim Virginia Giuffre backs Donald Trump for president. She says she knows the Epstein client list and is calling on Elon Musk's help in revealing it. Oh boy, I like where this is going. This development comes after Elon Musk suggested that many of Kamala Harris's puppet masters happen to be on the Epstein client list. This is why they're terrified of a Trump victory, because if he wins, the Epstein client list is coming out, Musk said. Virginia wrote this on X. We've got, so first, let me just show you some of the images. This is a photo posted by Virginia herself, appearing to be on a small private jet of some sort. Could be a private plane. Actually, it looks like a private plane, maybe. Nah, it's probably a jet. Who knows? There's a difference. And here's the infamous photo of Virginia Giuffre as, I believe, as a minor with Prince Andrew and Ghislaine Maxwell. Uh-huh. Indeed. Well, here's the post. She says, Elon Musk, I am Virginia Roberts. I know Epstein client list. I met Trump when I worked at Mar-a-Lago. Hopefully our new president again. Much to be tight-lipped about on the list, but also wary who I tell. Only someone of your candor who knows what to do with this information could help. What are your thoughts and plans about setting things right in the Billionaires Playboy Club? Please DM for more. Thank you. Oh, mio mayo. Now, perhaps it's nothing. I don't know. But Virginia Giuffre certainly does know things. And the Epstein scandal, which erupted because of information pertaining to Virginia Roberts, a.k.a. Virginia Giuffre. And she says she's Virginia Roberts. Her name is, I don't know, one's her maiden name or something like this. Because of information pertaining to her, this is what broke everything. I believe it was the Miami Times or Herald or something. It's been a minute. And the work of Mike Cernovich, which blew open the Epstein scandal. Alex Jones had been talking about this for a long time, and somehow this guy was able to just get away with everything, slap on the wrist here and there. Of course, we also have that crazy viral moment where Bill Gates was being interviewed after Epstein died, and they're like, what do you think? And he's like, well, he's dead now, so what does it matter? Interesting. What was Bill Gates doing on those planes? Many people flew on the Epstein plane. And I want to be careful here, guys. I really, really do. There's a couple ways we can view the Epstein scandal, conspiracy, whatever you want to call it. The important thing to understand is Epstein victimized many people. Also, he, let's just say, colluded with many evil people. Now, if you're a person who is going to an island for a private party, and then you get tricked into committing very serious offenses and crimes against children, that's too bad for you. You are colluding with the man, even if he is blackmailing you. But there are people that he tried to entrap, and he would blackmail with things that aren't necessarily criminal. That being said, I don't care. If you're somebody who was on that plane, be it Donald Trump, Bill Gates, or whoever else, I want to know what you were doing and why. I'm not going to give you the benefit of the doubt. The way the story goes, the deep conspiracy is that he was probably working for some kind of intelligence agency. We don't know who or what. He was getting tons of cash. He would invite people out either to get them to do drugs or hook up with women. And some of the cases are extreme. We know with Virginia Roberts, for instance, she was underage. And that's the big crux of this scandal. How many people were in on the take that they were working to traffic children with? We want those names. Then you have the people that were cheating on their wives or doing embarrassing things, and then they were getting filmed and then blackmailed. Yeah, some of them were doing drugs. Still, if you're flying around with this guy, I'm sorry. You were cavorting with a dude who is known to have been trafficking minors. And so you're not going to get any special privileges if it just turns out you did cocaine in an airplane, in a jet with some bad people. But that's what he was blackmailing people over too. Drug use, adult activities, and then, of course, the most extreme, young underage women. How many of the people who are in that black book are implicated in that? And you know what? Each and every one of you is going to get exposed for everything you did. At least I'm hoping so. We also, of course, have the Diddy scandal. Who knows what that guy's doing? There's a story I'll pull up in a second for you, where apparently Diddy's like, they're claiming he was patting down Justin Bieber looking for a wire of some sort. Well, take a look at this. You may have seen this clip go viral recently. The Vigilant Fox tweeting, the bombshell dropped when Musk suggested that Bill Gates, Democrat mega donor Reid Hoffman, and other billionaires are terrified of a Trump victory because if he wins, the Epstein client list is coming out. Musk said that after declaring that there is a strong overlap between Kamala's top 100 puppet masters and the Epstein client list. Musk called it mind-blowing that hundreds of January 6 protesters have been sentenced to prison if there's been no action to prosecute the worst offender on the Epstein list. That's insane. He says, I think part of why Kamala is getting so much support is that if Trump wins, that Epstein client list is going to be coming public. And some of those billionaires behind Kamala are terrified of that outcome. Now, again, you may have seen this clip, but for context, I'll play it for you here.
But she'll just say whatever words are on the teleprompter. So, it's really whoever controls the teleprompter is the actual sort of, that's who's actually in charge.
And who is that, do you think?
Well, I've tried to pin it down. It's not like any one kind of mastermind. It's not like, it seems to be, it's like Kamala's sort of a marionette with, 1,000 puppet masters type of thing. Like not, it's or maybe it's somewhere north of 100 is what it's in.
Wow.
Yes. I bet you know 80 of them.
Probably know most of them. Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, just by virtue of your job and what you've been doing for the last 30 years, I mean, and I should say, I think you voted for Biden.
I'd like to see a matchup of those, call it the top 100 puppet masters on the Epstein client list.
Ooh.
Do you think there's some overlap?
Strong overlap. Strong overlap.
When are we going to see that list, do you think?
I don't know. It's mind-blowing that they've not tried to prosecute even one. Not even the worst offender on the Epstein client list. They've not even tried to prosecute even one. That's insane.
Well, because they have a lot of diabetic grandmothers who were outside the Capitol in jail. Kind of occupied.
Yeah, they've put 500 or 600 January 6 protesters in prison, and not one person on the Epstein client list.
Will that ever one on the Epstein list?
I think part of why Kamala's getting so much support is that if Trump wins, that Epstein client list is going to become public.
Yes.
And some of those billionaires behind Kamala are terrified of that.
Ooh.
Yeah. Do you think Reid Hoffman's uncomfortable?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Gates.
And I only ask that because you just look at them and you're like, that's a nervous person right there. I don't know. I mean, I assume you know them. Yeah.
Yes. Reid Hoffman was my vice president of business development at PayPal.
Wow.
24 years ago.
I think Elon Musk is saying something there. He knows Reid Hoffman. This guy's a massive billionaire mega donor. He worked with Elon at PayPal. Elon knows this guy, and he says he's nervous. I wonder what Elon knows that he will not say. And on top of that, too, what does Virginia Roberts know that she doesn't want to say just yet, and why? I respect it. I do. Look, there's a reason why we have classified intelligence. If they were to come out now and say things, it could jeopardize perhaps Trump's election. It could jeopardize law enforcement actions against them. It could give them advanced warning to flee and hide. Now, I will say, if there is evidence that Reid Hoffman and Gates are implicated in any of this stuff, then I do think, on the surface the least, Virginia Roberts should be releasing that information because bad people who are billionaires are, well, assuming this is all true, funding Kamala Harris so that she can win. And if she does, those bad people will be shielded, protected, and they will continue that behavior. That being said, not knowing exactly what's going on behind the scenes, it's hard for me to say. But it does seem like, at least on the surface, with limited information, the smart move would be to expose them now so they're forced to stop funding this. I mean, if information came out about Bill Gates and Epstein that was damaging to his abilities, he wouldn't be able to make any political donations. It could shut him down. There is still the argument, as I mentioned, perhaps he then flees to a country with no extradition and sips pina colada and laughs. At the very least, though, if that does happen, he's out of the political game in the United States. So I don't know for sure why they're not coming out with more information. I really don't. I guess we'll see. I mean, I got to be honest. Maybe the reality is there's actually not that much. Like maybe some preponderance of evidence that makes you say, yeah, I know that guy's done something, but nothing directly. You have to wonder. But of course, it's not just there. We do have more, especially from this interview with Elon and Tucker. Vigilant Fox saying, Without skipping a beat, Musk turned his attention to what few billionaires would dare talk about: election fraud and voter IDs. Without a single stutter, Musk declared the purpose of no voter ID is obviously to conduct fraud in elections. The same people that demanded vaccine IDs if you want to travel or do anything are the same ones who say no voter ID is required. Very interesting point. The same people. How come when they were demanding vaccine cards and proof of vaccination, they didn't call that racist? Why weren't they saying, well, marginalized people don't know how to find a 7-Eleven parking lot? That's the game. They claim that poor people and black and brown people aren't smart enough, they say, to find IDs, to get IDs. That's ridiculous. Everybody's got an ID. You got to get an ID to get a job. Everyone goes to the DMV, you get an ID. So what's the point? Right. Elon Musk hits the nail on the head with the hammer. At the same time, they're saying you need vaccine IDs to go to restaurants. Was there any argument about marginalized people then? No, because they're liars and it's a cult. We did talk about Anna Kasparian the other day leaving the left. There is much more for her to leave, indeed. I think any sane person and rational person assessing the facts and breaking it down would end up in a place that you and I are at. Now, we may have some disagreements on moral structures, the extent of our morality or things like this, but we agree on the facts, right? And the conclusion then is, well, Donald Trump is the right choice for president. He's not the right choice. Look, everybody would agree, like, we'd be better off with George Washington, right? Not literally, because he wouldn't know how to use a phone or a computer, and he'd be like, what is this confounded contraption? I mean, like someone like him. A great military general, doesn't want to be a king, wants to provide a good service to his nation, and then just bows out, right? Right now, we have Donald Trump. And he does have some of those qualities. He does. He's certainly far from perfect. But if you look at what we obtain through a Trump presidency versus a Kamala presidency, then Trump just makes sense. I was talking about this last night on Timcast IRL, too, because you've got that viral clip of that Dean dude on Jubilee where he's like, Kamala Harris is a better character. Donald Trump's a racist. He want to do this, He's been accused. One thing they always do is they're like, Donald Trump was found liable for sexual assault and he was found liable for civil fraud in New York City. And now he's being criminally charged. And I'm just sitting here like, okay. And? Okay, dude. And that is my response when you say those things. A-N-D. What does that have to do with whether the economy will be good? What does that have to do with whether the border will be secure? Whether or not our trade agreements will be sound and benefiting this nation? Whether our manufacturing will be bolstered? Whether energy production will be bolstered? Whether we are going to see a de-escalation of conflict in the Middle East? Donald Trump could come out and he could say outright, I'm going to do nothing. And he's still better than Kamala Harris. This is what Phil Labonte said on IRL. If Trump came out and said, I will do literally nothing, you're like, we got a better president than Harris. Because what have we gotten under Biden-Harris? Escalation of conflict, open borders. The economy is not good. Wages adjusted for inflation are down. Inflation now, they're reporting today at 2.4%, hotter than they expected. It's gone down a little bit, still higher than they thought it was going to be. And this means people can't afford to buy groceries. But this is just common sense. So when you say Trump's a racist, I go, sure. Trump could come out and just say the stupidest, most offensive things imaginable. And I'm like, well, I'm still not voting for Kamala Harris. Look, I can tell you all day about decorum. I think it matters. But what are we dealing with? Degradation, collapse, and maybe World War III under Harris? Harris Waltz? You put us between a rock and a hard place, dude. I'm still going to vote for the guy who's got a naughty mouth, but who's going to fix our problems. And you can tell me all the bad things in the world about him, and I can agree with you. I can say, yep, how about that? And then we're going to have a de-escalation of conflict, stronger economy, lower energy prices. Thank you and have a nice day. Anyway, I digress. The point of the matter, the fact of the matter, what they say about Trump is, of course, a lie. Certainly, you can criticize the man because you can criticize any human being. Trump is far from perfect. But the idea that Elon Musk brings up here, no voter ID. Yeah, they say you can't have voter ID. That's racist, but you do need Vax ID. Shut up. I'm sick of the manipulations and the lies, okay? Because that's the game they're playing. Now, we do have this statement from Virginia Giuffre, which I'll pull up. She says, hey, President Trump, I say let the list be released and watch the cockroaches scatter out of the U.S. and find the nearest place where, yikes. Let's just keep it family friendly. And they mentioned that there would be a severe penalty to all of those who would abuse children. Let's just call it the ultimate criminal penalty. Well, my point simply here is Virginia Giuffre, as a victim, is on board with Donald Trump. And that says a lot about Donald Trump. They try to claim Trump and Epstein are together or working together, and that's just plumb not true. But there's also Diddy, and this stuff's still going on right now. Take a look at this. Disturbing footage of Diddy with Justin Bieber resurfaces as fans speculate whether the rapper is checking for a wire. I don't know, man. Look at this. He's got his hand on his chest. Look at, he's patting him down. Look, here's the theory, man. Epstein was the blackmail operation ensnaring political individuals, princes, kings, diplomats, whatever, business tycoons. And Diddy did the same in entertainment. They want to control entertainers. I mean, let's take a look at John Lennon. What was John Lennon all about? Well, he was protesting Vietnam, and he was a superstar. And then one day he gets killed. The conspiracy theory is that Mark David Chapman disappeared. And I'm saying this is a conspiracy. I don't know what happened. I just know the story. Mark David Chapman, they say, was a deranged fan carrying a bunch of Beatles stuff, shot John Lennon. The conspiracy theory is that Mark David Chapman was MK Ultra'd and then set upon John Lennon because John Lennon was causing a ruckus for the U.S. government and causing problems. And as a mega superstar, leading young people away from U.S. interests in Vietnam, etc. And the conspiracy theory is that the CIA took him out. You know, maybe. I don't know. I don't research that stuff. I read stuff online sometimes, but that's it, right? So the argument there is that the necessity of a Diddy-like conspiracy is that you can never again allow a John Lennon type to emerge, someone who goes full political activist or whatever. And so Diddy makes sure, and this is the conspiracy theory, anybody getting into entertainment goes through some big network or goes through some big entertainment label. They find themselves at a party. They're saying, it's a party, man. You're a superstar. Everybody loves you. Just do whatever you want. And you're being secretly filmed. And there's 1,000 bottles of baby oil for some reason. And then once it's all over, he says, hey, I got you on video with that kid. And then they get you. Now, don't get me wrong. Anybody who's going to go to a party and do those things is a bad person. I got no sympathy for those people. I'm just saying that the operation is to ensnare and entrap and make sure that anybody who's going to be rising in the ranks of influence is under their boot. That's why we get censored. So if you like the show, please share the show with all your friends and smash the like button. Because for shows like this, for shows like Crowder and, Alex Jones or whatever, they'll say everything in the world about conspiracy theories. And certainly Alex Jones has said some crazy stuff in his day. Some of it was largely true. When he says they're turning the frogs gay, sure, he was being crude and silly, but he was talking about a pesticide that was disrupting the endocrine systems of frogs. You can research it. It's a true story. The subsequent studies have said that they were wrong about atrazine and, I don't know, research it. But they want to shut these shows down and make sure that independent voices cannot rise to that degree of influence, because they're not within that sphere. You need only look at the entertainment industry and where they're going with things, though it's all seemingly falling apart. And I say rightly so, my friends, rightly so. Now, we do got this one, Trump firing back at Howard Stern, telling Kamala she won't be safe if Trump wins. And he calls Howard Stern a beta male. We got a bunch more stories to go through here on this one. So we'll take a quick pause. Smash that like button, share the show with everyone you know. We'll grab some of your super chats before we jump into this next segment, and we'll talk about what we got going on. But I want to hear some of your comments before we drift too far off of topic with Epstein and all that, getting to the next stories. We got a tiger shark. If Trump wins and Republicans wind up with the House and the Senate, could you ask members of Congress to see if they could somehow propose a bill to make illegal immigrants not count in the census? Trump tried that. It was preliminary. He did. And I think it was the Supreme Court shut him down. It was the citizenship question on the census. And Democrats said, ain't no way we going to allow that. But I think it's a good point, and certainly I will. But I got to be honest, my friends, even if they win across the board, I am not confident that Republicans will do much of anything. Seriously. The deplorable Ms. Drake says, where is Ian and why didn't he stop the storms? But really, if the government can't and doesn't control the weather, then why are we funding climate change? It's a good question. Yeah, climate change. We can control the weather en masse if we just shut down everyone's gas-powered vehicles. Then you can drive electric vehicles. That's how you do it. Now, some people have pointed out that the problem with EVs, electric vehicles, is that they can be controlled You'll get in your car, the doors will lock, and it'll be like, I'm sorry, you can't go to work today. There's a warrant for your arrest. Driving to the nearest police station. And then it locks you in and they arrest you. Gas-powered cars can do that too. That's it. I don't know, I'll tell you. Now, it will be crazy when they invent the wireless car charging. So like with wireless phone charging, you could theoretically do the same thing with a car, though it would take a really long time to transmit that much energy. And you're getting blasted by some pretty intense electromagnetism if we do that. Look, ladies and gentlemen, if they want to make robo cars that can lock your doors and drive you around wherever they want you to go, it doesn't matter if it's gas or electric motor. Doesn't matter. All right, Clank Clank I'm a Tank says, supposedly Britney Spears was pictured with Diddy just days before she started tripping out. Interesting. There is a conspiracy afoot, my friends. To be honest, there's conspiracies happening all the time. I don't know, you pick. Let's grab this next segment. Let's roll. We've got this story from the Post-Millennial. Trump fires back after Howard Stern tells Kamala she won't be safe if Trump wins. And he calls Howard Stern a beta male. Oh, boy. Quote, if he wins, God forbid, would you feel safe in this country? Would you stay in this country? And then Kamala's like, Howard, I am doing everything I can to make sure he doesn't win. Okay. Well, I certainly hope Kamala stays safe and happy and healthy and her family are fine and dandy. My view is, let's just put it this way. I would much prefer Kamala Harris to be cooking a delicious Jamaican dish, maybe a jerk chicken or something with her family. They're smiling. They turn on I don't know, Big Bang Theory or whatever it is people like Democrats watch. People like Democrats. And then, I don't know, they're happy about it, right? Certainly, I don't want anything to escalate into extreme violence. Aging shock jock Howard Stern asked Democratic candidate Vice President Harris if she plans to pack up and leave if Trump wins. Stern interviewed Harris Tuesday on SiriusXM. Stern reminded Harris that Trump has promised justice for the Democratic machine that has persecuted him with lawfare since he left office. Quote, if he wins, God forbid, would you feel safe in this country? Would you stay in this country? Howard, I'm doing everything I can to make sure he does not win, Harris said. What if he does? How can you be safe? He's saying, I'm just going to do whatever the hell I want. This time I know what I need to do. But Trump posted on Truth Social that Stern looked like a real fool, defending Harris in a review of the interview. Beta male Howard Stern made a fool of himself on his low-rated radio show when he interviewed Lion Kamala Harris and hit her with so many softball questions that even she was embarrassed. He looked like a real fool working so hard to make a totally incompetent and ill-equipped person look as good as possible, which wasn't very good. I dropped Howard a long time ago, like most others, and have since been credited with very good judgment, MAGA 2024. Harris talked of building a coalition with never-Trumpers like Dick Cheney, Mitt Romney, and other rhinos. You know what? All those former officials from national security, the over 200 Republicans who worked with both presidents, Bush, Romney, McCain, who are endorsing me, the former Vice President Dick Cheney, who is voting for me along with his daughter Liz Cheney, she said, we're building a coalition of people who are Republicans, independents, Democrats, libertarians, all stripes of Americans who are coming together to say, you know what? This election is about putting country before party. Well, let's talk about those coalitions, my friend. You've got that. Oh, boy. I can't wait to vote for Liz Cheney, Dick Cheney, Mitt Romney, John McCain, Bush. I know McCain's not around anymore. That's your coalition? I'll take the RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk, Donald Trump any day of the week. Any day. She also referenced an upcoming book by Bob Woodward, who claims Trump often spoke with Russian President Vladimir Putin after leaving office. And now we got Susan Rice. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let Russiagate, what are we on? Russiagate 4.0? Trump's reported calls with Putin appear illegal. Spare me. It's ridiculous. It's a violation of the Logan Act. That's what she's saying. Donald Trump is a private citizen. He can talk whoever he wants. And we don't know if he did. These people won't stop. They are relentless. But you got to give him that, right? This is about saying, do we want a president who is going to abide by the oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, or someone who is full-time engaged in flattery from Vladimir Putin from Russia and sending COVID testing kits over to him when Americans are dying every day? Woodward also has much to say about President Joe Biden in the book, including that he regretted the appointment of Merrick Garland to the office of Attorney General after America appointed a special prosecutor to investigate Hunter. You reap what you sow, Joe. Now, speaking of people being worried about what's going to happen in this election, let's just say you've got Howard Stern. He fears for Kamala Harris. You've got Reid Hoffman, Bill Gates, but also James Carville. What are you guys scared of? Who are you cavorting with, huh? We've seen those WikiLeaks emails. James Carville says he's scared to death about Election Day. Calls on Kamala to get aggressive. This report from the Daily Wire. Carville says he's scared to death and he needs Kamala to get a message out. He appeared on Ari Melber's MSNBC show to discuss the state of the 2024 race with less than 4 weeks remaining. The former Bill Clinton advisor said the Harris campaign has under 20 days to really get the message out, adding that he's very, very concerned as Harris heads in the final stretch of the campaign, Mediaite reported, and also Donald Trump is winning. Say what you want about the polls. The betting markets are in aggregate, okay? Like you take them all, you add them together, you average them out. Donald Trump is up 6.6 points. I'll take it. Asked by Melber what he thinks Harris needs to do in the campaign's final month, Carville replied, "She doesn't have a month left. We've got 26 days. Today is gone. You're going to lose 4 to the hurricane. Just subtract that. We're going to get blank. You're not going to get much out of the next 4 days. And everything kind of shuts down the Saturday before the election. So you're really probably under 20 days that you have to get a message out. They need to be sharp. They need to be aggressive. They need to stop answering questions and start asking questions. They're doing all this and sitting down with 60 Minutes and sitting down with Colbert. No matter what, if I come on your show, you will ask me the questions. If I have a press conference, I get to ask the questions." My friends, Kamala Harris is in a downward spiral. Call it the honeymoon period, call it whatever you want. But since she started her press run, it's been... I'm willing to bet that we're going to start seeing a massive negative repercussion for her from the press in the polls. But I don't really care about the polls because the polls is broken. We can use them to a certain degree, but we're still left scratching our heads. Who did they poll and why did they poll them? But the betting odds is where I think things get interesting. In the betting odds, you've got people outright saying right now, based on what I'm seeing, here's what I think. And when someone puts $10 on Trump, that's better than any poll. You call someone on the phone and say, "Who are you voting for?" And they're going to be like, "I ain't telling you." Or you call the wrong people. With betting markets, people want to get paid. Now, some believe there's a conspiracy that, powerful interests are buying bets to make it look like Trump or Kamala's winning. I don't buy it for a second. Moving on, the Democratic strategist also said he's frustrated with what he sees as a missed opportunity for the Harris campaign to challenge the Trump running mate, J.D. Vance's argument that the former president saved Obamacare. I would put President Obama out to make that challenge. He only is the author, the father of 23 million people having insurance. I would have President Clinton going on these local TV stations talking about how tariffs are going to destroy the economy of Wisconsin and Michigan. Carville, you moron. Okay, they kept the Trump tariffs. So by all means, send out Clinton to talk about tariffs being bad. And then Trump's going to be like, okay, well, Biden and Kamala kept them in place. So if you vote for them, you get the same exact thing. Moot point. However, I don't think it's going to fly in Michigan. Okay, the auto workers understand the power of tariffs. And Michael Moore hit the nail on the head with his famous speech back in, I think it was 2016. He said, Donald Trump went into the office of these auto execs and said to them, "If you build your vehicles overseas, I am going to charge you 20 or 30% on a tariff to bring those vehicles into this country. And no one will ever buy your cars again." And Michael Moore said it was the first time that someone stood up to these guys. So these working class Joes in the Rust Belt who rely on the auto industry, they see that. And that's why UAW is pissed right now about Kamala and Joe Biden, the EV mandates. That's why the Teamsters are backing Trump. Head of the Teamsters did an interview where he was like, the Democrats have effed us over for 40 years. It's about time you woke up, I guess, but I'll take it, right? Michael Moore went on to say, and they'll be happy for a few days, maybe a few weeks, but then they'll regret it because Donald Trump is bad, blah, blah. It's hilarious. They never did. In fact, Trump's support increased from 2016 to 2020. He got people like me, especially, because I think he showed he was going to do right. The way I describe it to everybody is, I feel like I hired a plumber. because my toilet broke. The piping was bad or whatever. And Kamala Harris is coming in there and laughing and being like, I'm going to bring joy and happiness to fixing your bathroom. And then she doesn't. And she leaves and it's worse than ever. And I'm like, man, then you get some fat, beer-bellied plumber who walks in saying, all right, where's the dang old effed up garbage? And he's crude, he's condescending, he's making offensive jokes in front of everybody. Some people are laughing, some people aren't. You got the wife and she's like, this guy I do not like. But you got to admit, you need him to fix the toilet. He walks in, he walks out. Your pipes are fixed, you dumb moron. Next time, don't put paper towels in there. That's what I'm talking about. Are you so daft that you're going to hire the person who's nice to you but can't do the job? Or are you going to hire the guy, Donald Trump, who may have mean tweets, but he solves your problem? Yo, working class Joes get it. It is actually quite simple. You're a working class guy and you say, Donald Trump can call me every name in the book if he helps me keep my job. And my family is well fed and energy costs are down. I can pay insurance. I can pay my mortgage. I can get my kids the clothes they need. Trump, I tell you this, go to any dad and say, here's your options. Kamala will laugh with you and have a Miller High Life, and you won't be able to afford groceries. Or Donald Trump will come in, personally insult your children and your wife, and then hand you a $100 bill. What are you going to pick? Of course, Donald Trump is not going to do that. But that's the argument they're trying to make. Oh, Donald Trump's a bad guy. He's racist and he's got no decorum, blah, blah, blah. Certainly. And I think those things matter to a certain degree. But for the regular working class person, it's like, brother, you can call me every name in the book. You can tell me I'm stupid. I'll take your money. Donald Trump's going to get the job done. At least we hope he does. That's the best we can do. In the meantime, what are Democrats mustering up? Russiagate again. Okay, guys. Susan Rice says Trump's calls with Putin appear illegal. I'm just not interested, man. You know, right now there's some good news on the horizon. We've got Trump taking over Wisconsin and Michigan, the battleground states. We've got Daily Wire reporting Kamala's blue wall is collapsing. The race has gotten a lot closer, and we know that the polls actually favor the Democrat. So we're looking right now at what appears to be a likely reality of Donald Trump. There we go. Look, let's say Trump loses Nevada, Georgia, North Carolina. He still wins 274. We can take a look at the Senate race. We're looking at a GOP Senate already, 51-48. And there's a chance for 52 Republican seats. In the House, Republicans have the edge, but it's still a bit of a toss-up. So we will see. My friends, this means y'all got to get out there. You got to be active. You got to do the work. Trump, the Freedom Caucus, whatever. They can't do nothing without you. You got to vote at the state level. You got to vote local. I don't care where you live. Do you know who your, comptroller is? Because you should. You should be paying attention to who's handling your budgets or your ombudsman or whatever, your alderman. These positions exist and they shape the world around you from the bottom up. You vote for the right state representatives and state senate, you're going to change the structure of your federal districts. They're going to gerrymandering and all that stuff. And then you're going to find that we've got 35 to 40 states that are Republican dominated. And this Democrat wanton insanity will come to an end. I'm going to wrap it up there. We got more segments coming up for you. Some crazy stories. Take a look at this one. Reddit bans the discussion on the Trump would-be assassin, the investigation. Things are very, very strange, I will say. So smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, follow me on X and Instagram, and become a member at timcast.com. Stay tuned. The next segment will be coming up on this channel shortly, but if you're watching live, we'll read some of your super chats now. Let's grab some super chats from you. Help me out there, guys. Says, hey, Tim, love your show, voting Trump. Do you have any idea if and why Republicans vetoed more money for FEMA? Was it part of a larger spending bill? I've been posting about the poor response and keep getting messaged about vetoes. Usually it's because Republicans oppose mass spending. The problem I have is with Republicans as well as Democrats. Congress could have emergency sessions. Like, we are human beings. We decide. This idea that's like, well, we can't because Congress is not in session. We have to. Shut up. Anybody can come and say we have to save the American people right now. You want to allocate funding to Ukraine or whatever? Okay, well then contend with Gen Z because they getting pissed. All right. Mike McCarty says you should try to get Tom McDonald on IRL. Tom has an open invite. We're big fans. He's been invited many times, but he lives on the West Coast. Hard for him to travel, but would be epic to have Tom McDonald on Timcast IRL. So definitely would be really, really great. JRG Project says Trump is going to finally shatter the Democratic Party. The finger pointing by the likes of Carville and the sycophants like KJP. The conflict will be far more aggressive than they've been with us. Indeed, indeed. Let's jump to this next story, my friends. Let me grab it quick. Today, I have a delicious Spindrift mango orange. I'm a big fan. It's like what soda is supposed to be. 3 grams of sugar, carbonated water, mango puree, orange juice, citric acid. And no, we're not sponsored by them. I just, make America healthy again. Okay, pay attention to what you're putting in your body. Let's grab this segment. From the Post-Millennial, Reddit bans forum dedicated to sharing information about would-be Trump assassin Thomas Crooks. An archive of the subreddit shows that it was a popular forum that generated a high level of engagement. That is, the crowdsourced investigation into who this man was, how he did what he did. It's gone. It's very interesting. Why? According to the Post-Millennial, a forum dedicated to sharing information about the would-be assassin Thomas Crooks has been banned from Reddit. Crooks was killed by snipers after launching an assassination attempt on Trump. Reddit, a social forum and news aggregation website, said that it banned the Thomas Crooks subreddit because it violated its rules against posting violent content. An archive of the subreddit shows that it was a popular forum that generated a high level of engagement. It's unclear the exact date had been taken down. The posts issued on the forum varied, but all pertained to seeking answers and sharing information about the historical assassination attempt on the 2024 GOP nominee's life. Questions about Crooks, security failures that day, and whether the attempt was an inside job were discussed in the section before the ban. Reddit did not provide an example of the violent content shared that went against its company's policies. So you can see many of this. We can look at some of the posts here. It says ADHD or autism, foreign encrypted emails, NATO involvement. It looks like people were digging too deep. I wonder what was uncovered. Reddit is the latest news website to block information from being shared about the assassination attempt, a move that comes just ahead of the 2024 election. Google and Facebook have also been criticized over efforts to suppress the story, which is one of the most historical events in U.S. history. Google scrubbed the assassination attempt from its autocomplete search engine, and Facebook warned against sharing photos of President Trump raising his fist in the air after being shot at a rally, falsely alleging they were AI generated. Following accusations of election interference by the Trump campaign and Republican lawmakers, both big tech corporations have since fixed their faults. Similar to Reddit's excuse to ban the forum, Google and Facebook also cited violent content violations. I'll tell you what I think, my friends. I think when you start to dig into who this guy is and how he was able to actually get an attempt on Trump's life, the story doesn't quite make sense. Now let's take a look at what we have here from Newsweek. 1 in 3 people think Donald Trump assassination attempts a conspiracy. Poll. What does that mean, conspiracy, my friends? What does that truly mean? A survey conducted exclusively for Newsweek by Redfield and Wilton Strategies sampled a diverse group of respondents from across the country, asking them, to what extent, if at all, are you familiar with the arrest of a man suspected of attempting to assassinate Donald Trump on the 15th of September? The majority of those, 38, said they were very familiar. 11 said not at all familiar, which is kind of nuts. This was followed by the question. In June, Donald Trump survived an assassination attempt in Butler. Do you believe the events in Butler in June and in West Palm Beach last week were the work of lone individuals, or were they a result of a wider conspiracy involving multiple individuals? Indeed. Now, I must clarify, it was July. I saw that was wrong. I was like, it wasn't June, it was July. And July 13th, 2024, Trump survived an attempted assassination. So typo from somebody here, but I digress. Over 1/3 of respondents, 36% said they believed multiple people were involved in a wider conspiracy to assassinate Trump. Some 44% believed the assassination attempts were isolated acts of violence, while the remaining 20% were unsure or declined to answer. The findings could reflect the heightened sense of distrust in American institutions, as well as the influence of far-right and populist narratives that have gained prominence in the past decade. As reported previously by Newsweek, after Trump's assassination attempt in July, conspiracy theories erupted online. Trump has been the subject of multiple assassination threats during and after his presidency, and his vocal supporters have often framed these incidents as proof of a wider effort to silence him. It is proof of a wider effort to silence him. They tried to kill the guy 3 times already. More than that if you count some of these other stories, like where a guy stormed the barricades and Trump like whips back, or the guy who tried grabbing the gun from the cop. We're looking at like 5. Yeah, certainly these people are trying to silence Donald Trump. Conspiracy. What does that mean? Honestly, let's start here with the definition. I'm going to pull it up because I want to, of conspiracy. We've got our good friends over at Google, the Oxford Dictionary. They're going to tell us. A conspiracy is a secret plan by a group to do something unlawful or harmful. The action of plotting or conspiring. They were cleared of conspiracy. A secret plan to do something bad, huh? Okay. Let's try this one on for size. They say it's a group of people. A group. 2 or more. On this day in question, we must actually begin 4 days before July 13th. According to body camera footage that's been released from the police officers who were there, they said, we told them 4 days ago to secure this roof. Secret Service did not. That's the roof that Thomas Crooks used to kill Corey Comprador, critically injure 2 others, and nearly take the life of Donald Trump, grazing the side of his head with a bullet. Then we have the day before. July 12th, the FBI arrested a man, a Pakistani national with ties to Iran, who was organizing an assassination attempt on Donald Trump on behalf of Iran because Donald Trump ordered the assassination of Qasem Soleimani, the killing of him in combat, whatever you want to call it. The day before, the feds claim they instructed the Secret Service that there was a plot and they needed to up their protection. Secret Service claims they did. Interesting. The day in question, 3 hours before the shots were fired, a drone flew overhead. Thomas Crooks reportedly flew a drone. I can only explain this as every Secret Service agent being stricken blind, deaf, and dumb all at once. I can't see anything. I can't hear, see, or communicate. There's a drone flying over a presidential rally. Nobody cared. That's insane to me. What do we have? An hour before, he's spotted with a rangefinder. He's a threat. 26 minutes before, he's spotted again. Rangefinder, threat, sneaking into a secure area. He's seen near the building where they have no Secret Service on the roof. 10 minutes before. 2 minutes before. 30 seconds. Not once did any single law enforcement or police officer remove Donald Trump from that stage. Seems pretty darn strange, if you ask me. Now, what can I tell you? I don't know about no conspiracies. What I can say is all it takes is one individual in logistics. And you've heard me say it before. But you want to know why people think that there's a conspiracy? Because it keeps happening. And it doesn't. And I'll tell you this, my friends. I would say the simple solution is there is a conspiracy. Now, does it mean government or corporate or whatever? No. But let's be honest. Iran is conspiring to kill Donald Trump. Guys, my friends, I beseech all of you to understand that Iran really does want to kill Donald Trump. And I've had a lot of people ask me this. They say, yeah, but the deep state wants to do it. And I'm like, look, there's probably Trump derangement syndrome people who work in government. We know they do. They're going after Trump for a bunch of different reasons. And we know that when polled, a lot of people are saying they think the country's better off if Trump had not survived, which is terrifying. I think it's possible there's people, I think it's likely there's people in government that they're really bad. So make all the story, theorize, hypothesize, whatever you want. Iran has publicly stated they will have vengeance. They want retribution against Trump because Qasem Soleimani was like their James Bond. Some people say, yeah, but do you really think Iran? I'm like, are you serious? Trump really went after these guys. They don't. This is why Trump is the right choice for president, partly because he's going to shut down this conflict. I don't know what this idea of the Democrats have is appeasement, unfreezing assets for Iran. It's because they want the instability. Iran is trying to kill Donald Trump. That's true. Other people are as well. But I tell you this, the reason why people think there's a conspiracy is because there is. There is. Now, as for Thomas Crooks, who knows? Who knows? Salon says, weaponizing tragedy for political capital, how Trump assassination attempts fuel MAGA. What Donald Trump is doing is as dangerous as it is unprecedented in American history. You got to love it, don't you? The corporate press, the left-leaning liberal media industrial complex. Donald Trump was nearly killed. He's fueling this and it's dangerous. Maybe people shouldn't try to kill him. That's it. There is nothing you can say, and this is just a story from yesterday, nothing you can say that will ever make this Trump's fault. You can never say that he's fueling MAGA or whatever. Someone killed Corey Comprator, critically injured 2 others. Trump was struck on the side of the head, nearly dying. It's miraculous that he survived. But for the tilt of his head, the bullet grazed his ear. And they're like, yeah, well, you know, Trump shouldn't have stood up. What an idiot. You're getting shot at, you stand up. He's so dumb. You know, I just find this absolutely fascinating. Let me tell you about this stuff, right? They say Trump is dumb because he stood up and yelled, fight, fight, fight. What would you do if you were being shot at? You don't know. Many of you do. Many of you watching served in combat. Some people who served in combat says it's also stupid. They're Democrat leaning. But you don't know how you respond in a crisis. And I tell you this, I actually think Trump had to do that. They say Trump was stupid for standing up and raising his fist and yelling, fight, fight, fight. But that fight, fight, fight has become iconic, and it has been a major morale boost. But when this went down, I remember the exact moment my phone goes, brr, 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 my phone's lighting up. Everyone's like, dude, my team. And I'm in Milwaukee. We're getting ready for the RNC. I see the video. Nobody knows if Trump's alive or not. He stands up and yells, fight, fight, fight. We don't know where he was hit. We don't know what happened. But when he stands up, we're like, he's okay. He's okay. I was talking with Ian Crossland on Timcast IRL, and he said it was stupid. And I said, let me ask you a question. The stories of old, that when the great kings would have war, the king would be in front of all of his cavalry, and he would lead the charge as king with everyone behind him. He would be the first one to clash with the enemy troops, the enemy battalion, whatever. Was that stupid? You're running full speed into the enemy army? You're the king. You could die. No, we champion those people. Those are stories of honor that inspire us. That a king himself, he would say, I would never ask you to do something that I would not do myself. And they lead the charge. Running perhaps into death, but you're the leader. The people need you. Perhaps it is stupid. And things did change. But I see Donald Trump standing up on that day to let everyone know he survived. I mean, the threat was neutralized. He stands up. He's got his Secret Service all around him. And everybody know that he was okay and that he was strong in the face of danger. If Trump scuttled away in terror, they would have mocked him relentlessly. They'd have said he was a coward and a fool. But of course, no matter what Trump does, they're going to play this game. So my friends, to those of you trying to dig into what is actually going on, they're trying to shut you down. But I think it's good that people are investigating because we need answers. But you know what? Donald Trump says when he's elected, we're going to have an investigation. And I'm real excited for RFK Jr. to be involved in that. I'm loving it. But we'll wrap it up there, my friends. We got more segments coming up for you in this great morning show. Donald Trump is winning in the betting odds. Put a smile on your faces, Trump fans. We're going to talk about Vegas and gambling and why everybody's backing Donald Trump when it comes to the money. So smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with everyone you know. Become a member at timcast.com, and we'll see you on the next segment. But if you're watching live, your super chats are coming now. And of course, I need to keep drinking this. Forgive me. Man, mouth's getting dry, huh? All right. Clank Clank on the Tank says Butler was the first event with counter sniper. Very interesting. Joshua Peaks says a smart man once taught me that you don't need a formal conspiracy when so many interests align. Indeed, we call these standalone complexes. Complexi? I know many of you are familiar because I brought it up quite a bit. A standalone complex is when many people act individually, but to such a degree that it creates the perception of a conspiracy. That is to say, if 10 people all robbed a mall on the same day, you might assume they're part of a plan to rob the mall and create chaos, when in fact, they were actually just operating on their own. Sometimes it's not a conspiracy. If 10,000 poll workers in this election just decide to throw away Trump ballots and count Kamala ballots and Trump loses, you might look at that and say it's a conspiracy when in fact it's a standalone complex. So many people are willing to cheat. I'm not saying they're going to, or I'm just saying hypothetically, not be a conspiracy. All right. Flavor Girl says, is it Flower? So Flower Girl, the Reddit mod team could be described as a wretched hive of scum and villainy, definitely infiltrated by 3-letter agencies. Interesting. Mr. Event says Trump is going to lose Florida, Georgia, and Carolinas. There will be no way to prove otherwise. Following these hurricanes, it's very, very strange. Very strange indeed. But let's have some fun, my friends. Let's roll. In this story from the Daily Mail, ladies and gentlemen, upon interviewing several betting men in Las Vegas, they tell you it's Donald Trump. Donald Trump is where the money goes. You want to win money in Vegas? I'm telling you it's Donald Trump. Okay, I'm not literally telling you to go gamble. You shouldn't. But the betting odds for Trump have spiked. Take a look at this. Oh, I was wrong. So I said 6.6 earlier. It's 5.6. Forgive me, but Trump is up in aggregate 5.6 points. We've got the aggregate betting markets. Look at this. Kamala is down. Donald Trump is taken over. What are they saying right now? Okay, so that's not right. How do we zoom in on this? We got to go to like 6 months. Here we go. 5.6 point lead. Betfair, Bovada. Kamala Harris is no longer winning a single betting market, except maybe Predicted. Let's see, because Predicted has always been very much... I love this. The only one that still got Kamala winning. Predicted. Yo, betting arbitrage, here we go. But I saw this story, and it's funny. Right now, let me tell you, as soon as Kamala Harris started doing a press tour, the betting odds were collapsing. When we started seeing the clips come out from 60 Minutes, collapsing. Now, Donald Trump winning. Will Vegas put its money on Trump? Sin City gamblers reveal where they're placing their 2024 bets. In the early hours of the morning, of bleary-eyed Las Vegans meandered down a crowd of bleary-eyed Las Vegans meandered down the strip towards the Tropicana Casino to witness the end of an era. They say among the longest-standing landmarks in Sin City, the Tropicana was once known as the epitome of grandeur. That's right, they imploded the whole thing, knocked it down. That's kind of crazy. But in the world's most famous gambling city, people are having a hard time predicting who will come out on top on November 5th. With the odds up in the air, some have decided not to cast a ballot at all. Torta Jones was born and raised in Vegas. He knows all too well the major role his home state plays in the race for the White House. It is not that he never votes, but he has no plans. He said, if they had a gun to my head and they made me vote, the gun would go off. Wow. I can't imagine me voting for either of those idiots. I gotta be honest. Like I can respect that to a certain degree. But I think when you assess the facts, you're like, sure, criticize Trump. But Trump, that's just me. Well, he doesn't plan to vote if he had to bet. He thinks the Democratic nominee is the likelier winner in Nevada. Perhaps in Nevada. I wouldn't be surprised. Quote, when he tried to shoot Trump, I was like, oh, this MFer has got it. But then Joe Biden left. I think Kamala might win. I just think they need somebody young in there. The latest average of polling from Real Clear Politics indicates he might be onto something if Harris is up 1 point in Nevada with less than a month to go. So let's pull up the old top battlegrounds here from RCP. And in Nevada, he is correct. She's up a point. But so what? Seriously, so what? Who you betting on? To win the state? Sure, you can win money in that regard. The latest average predicts she's up. J.C. Lane, 46, traveled to Vegas to witness Tropicana implosion. Lane would not share who he's casting his ballot for, but when it comes to politics, he thinks it got a little crazy. He did make a prediction. He says, I feel pretty strongly Arizona is going for Trump, judging by the volume of signs and bumper stickers. His bet also aligns with the latest polling data. The Real Clear Politics average has Trump up nearly 1.5 points in the western swing state. Indeed, it does. But right now, the latest is actually 0.9. With the polling bias, it's going to be wild because Trump may actually be up something like 5 points. But Jason Grape doesn't want to hear it. He was a 2016 voter who flipped for Biden in 2020. In November, both he and his wife plan to vote for Harris. I'm just tired of all the MAGA BS. Now, I don't believe these people are real, to be completely honest. But, I know they're real. I know they're. The couple drove all the way from Chicago to Nevada to watch the Tropicana. He was worried first after Biden dropped out of the race, but now he thinks the 2024 election is giving off real 2008 vibes and Harris could win. My dude, what are you talking about? I mean, look, maybe I'm wrong, but all of the historical iconography is with Trump. It just is. Grape said he voted for Trump in 2016 because he wasn't paying attention, and the FBI investigation into Hillary Clinton swayed him. He thinks the results in November will have an impact that lasts for decades. The 2024 really is the most important election of our lifetimes. Before first light on Wednesday, the Tropicana came down. The 2 miles along the strip, Donald Trump's 20-year-old Golden Hotel will likely stand for decades to come. It remains to be seen if the denizens of Las Vegas put their money on him. My friends, you guys know this. I am not a fan of gambling, and I'll explain this. I think it is here's my view on all this stuff. If you want to go to a casino, I think it's great for some people sometimes. There is a rule in understanding responsibility in playing games. Me, I like arcades. Let's talk about going to the arcade. We go to arcade. They got skee ball. They got bowling. We go to a Bolero or something. We've got, Fourth Dimension Fun Center out here or whatever in Maryland. Fun place. You bowl, you get chicken wings. We have a good time. When you are playing these games, there's no return. You're going to put down $50 playing, beer pong in the arcade or whatever, or skee ball or something. And what do you win? $1 worth of prizes? Here's the rule when it comes to gambling. And I'm not telling anybody to gamble. But you set a certain amount of money you want to play with, and you don't play too frequently, and you're not there to win money. You're there just to play some games, and your return is going to be small. But here's the funny thing. The return for most casinos is going to be around half your money back. Or actually way more than that. You'll lose a little bit you'll win a little bit less than half the time. So if you play $100, you might leave with 90. That's just entertainment for the night. You have a good time, you go home. I'm not a big fan of the gambling where people go in and they're standing there with 10 grand and they're just throwing it out and they're getting frustrated. I'm like, people got problems. They do. Now, that being said, when it comes to the betting markets, I actually think this is very different. So I'm a poker player. I enjoy playing Texas Hold'em. Rarely will I play any kind of PLO or Raz, high-low, whatever. And that's not really my thing. But Texas Hold'em, many people would say is gambling. I say it's not. With Texas Hold'em, you decide your own odds. You make bets when you feel the odds favor you, which means if you went to a casino and they said, we're going to play a game where you win 60% of the time, you'd be like, oh, okay, I'll just keep playing because I'm going to win money. And that's what I think about Texas Hold'em. As long as you know what you're doing and you're playing the right games, people who are not as good as you and don't know what they're doing, you're going to be winning money. It's not really gambling. That's how I see the presidential election in bets like this. I look at fantasy sports. I don't say that as gambling. These are skill choices. It's information games. When it comes to the presidential election, buying bets is in a certain essence gambling, like you're throwing money down. But I view gambling as games of chance to win money. I view games of skill and information to win money the same as any other competition. The people who are now making these bets are making them upon information and belief. And as of right now, it favors Donald Trump. Nobody is making bets. I should say the majority of people who are betting aren't just doing gut checks, right? The reason why Trump is now winning in the betting markets in Vegas is because Kamala did a bunch of polls. She did a bunch of press. Confidence was rocked in her capability to communicate effectively or to even have a plan. In fact, she outright said, I wouldn't do anything differently. And so what happens? Instantly, people say, I'm betting on Donald Trump. I would actually suggest, not for anybody else, but to me, I believe betting on Donald Trump is the better bet. Despite the fact that Alan Lichtman has predicted Kamala Harris to win, despite the fact that Nate Silver says Kamala Harris has the edge to win, I still feel like if I was going to place a bet, it would be with Trump. Same as Vegas. So why then, my friends, does Nate Silver say Kamala Harris has the edge? Why is Alan Lichtman predicting Kamala Harris? Well, I think a component of this is that some people believe the deep state, the shadow campaign, whatever, may play a role. Now with two hurricanes slamming into the southeast, it's entirely possible damage and destruction could affect this election. But my friends, I still must say, even with all of that considered, historic iconography and everything, it looks like there's a real reason Trump is being favored in the betting markets. We call this the wisdom of the crowds. It's basically ask the audience from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. You've all seen Millionaire. What a fun show. Usually the audience gets it right in the earlier questions, but later on they start to get it wrong. Your best bet when you're playing Millionaire is to ask the audience early on if you need it, if you're not sure. Because later on, they're not going to know. They're going to say something like, in 1913, on which island did powerful interests meet to plan the Federal Reserve? And of course, you guys know the answer to this. Most of you do. But is the audience going to know what Jekyll Island is? That's a tough question, right? The wisdom of the crowd only goes so far. But it does tend to work out well. Right now, we are seeing people who are willing to risk money. The pollsters aren't risking it. They're getting paid to do these polls. The people who are making bets right now are outright saying, I got cash. I believe I won't lose. And they're making those bets. But you do got to consider as well, there's something called a value bet. A value bet is when, look, if the odds are 1,000,000 to 1, you place a $1 bet, you can win $1 million. Value bet. It's like buying a lottery ticket. You're like, I don't really care about the $2, but heck, if I won $1 million, I'd be pretty happy. So with Kamala Harris getting down in the odds, some may suspect there could be value bets shifting the game. I don't think so. At 46% on average, you're going to bet $1 and win $1.10. That edge doesn't really matter all that much. Certainly if you're doing presidential betting arbitrage, if you know what that means. But let me just stress, wrapping up this segment, wisdom of the crowd. That's why the betting odds matter. You know what doesn't matter, though? In the long run, I guess any of it, really. It does matter. We do get a sign of things. But if you're not going out there registering people to vote, advocating for people to vote, none of it matters. Because Trump's not going to win if you're not doing the legwork like everybody else. I'm going to be at an event in Bucks County in, I believe, Newtown. I tweeted it out this Sunday with Scott Pressler and Jack Posobiec for an early voting rally. We're going to be talking a lot about this stuff. And this is me saying, look, I got to put my money where my mouth is. I got to take the weekend and do the work. And we went to Rescue the Republic the weekend before. And now we're going to this next event because you got to. So we can't just sit around. Even, I do this show. I do two shows a week. We got to do the best we can. So smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with everyone you know. Follow me on X at Timcast. We got more segments coming up for you, of course. AOC threatening political violence. Say it ain't so, AOC. I can't believe it. All right. For those of you watching live, we'll go to your super chats. For everybody else, stick around because those segments will be coming up later today. Here we go. Kangaroobic's Cube, what a good name, says, what's with the polls? There are no RV polls on RCP. Really? That's interesting. Novel Theory says, we the people are the strength of this country, and it's very clear here in Western North Carolina. They say no phone signal, but they heard the call. Yeah. Beowulf Wild says, when you cut out a man's tongue, you only prove that you fear what he may say. And that's from Game of Thrones, of all things. That was Tyrion Lannister. He said something effective. When you cut out a man's tongue, it's a really great quote. Cut out a man's tongue, quote, because I think there's more to it. Yes, he says, when you George R.R. Martin, Clash of Kings, when you tear out a man's tongue, you're not proving him a liar. You're only telling the world that you fear what he might say. Heavens. Very, very great quote. All right. Tactical Dish Soap says, hey, Tim, I don't know if this will be a segment. Yesterday during the hurricane, the Internet Archive site got hacked. Not sure if a rogue group or nefarious government agency did that, but it's crazy. Wow. That's crazy. All right. Joshua029 says, last night's members show was amazing. Watched 4 times. Please have a longer conversation on the poisoned food topic on the culture war. Bring in some homesteaders for their perspective as well. Pretty please. Indeed. It sounds very, very fun. Yeah. We talked quite a bit about the food we eat, the poisons, fertility, and there was this story about how young people are getting colon cancer, and it's from emulsifiers and high fructose corn syrup. And boy, let me tell you about high fructose corn syrup. I'll give you the quick rundown. Corn is subsidized by the government, meaning although corn is actually more expensive to grow than other crops, because the government's footing the bill, farmers can produce it at a cheaper cost and they can sell it for, creating false profit. They actually make a profit, but only because the government is basically paying them to do it. They can extract corn syrup, which is sugar from corn, which is largely, it's like glucose, sucrose, fructose, and isn't that bad for you, but it is expensive to make. Now, shipping corn syrup is very expensive because the, what do we call it, the glycemic scale? It is not as sweet as, say, other substances, a little bit less sweet. So what they do is they take the corn syrup, put it in a lab, using an enzyme, convert the glucose into fructose, which tastes sweeter to us. This creates high fructose corn syrup. Now, they can ship larger quantities because you require less high fructose corn syrup to sweeten beverages and foods than you would regular corn syrup. So all in all, corn syrup is more expensive. High fructose corn syrup is even more expensive, but high fructose corn syrup has a higher glycemic index, spikes your blood sugar, tastes sweeter. You can use less of it to sweeten foods, and that's why they put it in everything. However, the fructose has to be processed in the liver as opposed to glucose, which can be used right away. That causes liver strain and fatty liver disease and makes people sick. The more you know. Although I will ultimately say, talk to a doctor about what's right for you, because I just read some stuff on the internet. Now, to be fair, I've read quite a bit about high fructose corn syrup, the process of creation. That's how I was able to give you that rant just now. But I absolutely may be very, very wrong about all of it. Reading the internet does not make me an expert on anything. It just makes me a guy on the internet who complains a lot. But I try my best. Let's roll. We got more stories for you. This one's from the Post-Millennial. There will be an out-and-out brawl. AOC calls for political violence. If Kamala Harris were to win the election and remove current FTC chair, anyone goes near Lina Khan and there will be an out-and-out brawl, and that is a promise. Really? Okay. Look, man, I'm a skeptic. I'm a fence sitter on a lot of things. I don't want to say she's calling for political violence. Out and out brawl could just be a turn of phrase, meaning like we will file paperwork. But the way she's saying it leans more towards there's going to be a fist fight. You know what I mean? But maybe she's just being hyperbolic. Either way, not appropriate, AOC, but let's talk. Rep AOC was threatening political violence Wednesday against anyone attempting to remove Lina Khan as the chairwoman of the Federal Trade Commission. Why? Like, how much do we care about Lina Khan? Let me make this clear. Since billionaires have been trying to play footsie with the ticket, anyone goes near Lina Khan and there will be an out-and-out brawl, and that is a promise. She proves this admin fights for working people. It would be terrible leadership to remove her. And of course, this comes from, she's quoting a tweet from Joseph Zaballo. Harris surrogate Mark Cuban doesn't believe Harris should keep Lina Khan as FTC chair. If it were me, I wouldn't, Cuban said to Semaphore at the KFF lunch. By trying to break up the biggest tech companies, you risk our ability to be the best in artificial intelligence. The Congresswoman was referring to comments from billionaire Harris supporter Mark Cuban, who told Semaphore that if Vice President wins the November presidential election, he would remove her. Cuban approves of Khan initiating antitrust probes into pharmacies, but said she has erred in fighting big tech over AI. The bigger picture is she's hurting more than she's helping, Cuban said. The FTC rejected that assessment, according to the outlet, reiterating Khan's policy that extreme consolidation is not good for the U.S. economy. Chair Khan believes that choosing competition over centralized corporate control of the markets is a path to letting the best ideas win. Senator Bernie Sanders also indicated his continued support of Khan, posting on X, Mark Cuban is wrong. Lina Khan is the best FTC chair in modern history. By taking on corporate greed and illegal monopolies, Lina is doing an exceptional job preventing large corporations from ripping off consumers and exploiting workers. Now I think she should be removed, and I'm with Mark Cuban because I don't trust Bernie Sanders and AOC. I'm kidding, by the way. I don't trust Mark Cuban either. I'm just wondering how Lina Khan came to be this figure in conflict. Why do they like her so much? Whatever. Ocasio-Cortez quickly endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris as the Democratic presidential candidate, even though she has previously mused about her enormous peril of having Joe Biden forced out of the nomination. He had won through the primary system. Biden later admitted that former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and other powerful Democrats did remove him from the presidential race. Indeed. But the first thing I got to say is, do y'all really think she was calling for political violence? I don't think AOC is suggesting she's going to box Kamala Harris or something. She shouldn't say these things, though, to be completely honest, because she's indicating that if Kamala Harris removes someone, there's going to be a brawl. AOC, are you saying you're going to fight Kamala? I don't think that's appropriate. You know what I mean? I think she's talking about a political controversy. I don't think we need to say she's talking about political violence. But you know what? I know what's going to happen. Everyone in the comments is going to say, Tim, stop giving these people the benefit of the doubt. They wouldn't give it to you. AOC is using extremist rhetoric. They've been doing this against Trump, and we've seen violence. So I can only say this. Yeah, you're mostly right. AOC should know better than right now, with heightened tensions, to use any kind of allusions to violence. This is funny. The first thing I'll say is it's really hard sometimes when I say illusion and people are like, huh? Because I think I'm saying illusion, but I'm saying allusion. And I'm like, maybe I should just not say that, but I don't know. The word I choose, fine. Don't allude. Okay, I'll say that. Don't allude to the use of violence in any circumstance. So when people come on the show on Timcast IRL, they're like, what are the rules? Can we not say? I'm like, well, YouTube has rules about what they'll ban you for. And so we always just say stuff like medical issues, talk to a doctor, because we're not doctors. We don't give financial advice. We don't give legal advice, and do not make allusions to violence. That means don't say things like, there's going to be a brawl with me and that guy. They do this. No. I'll tell you why. So we have people who say things like, I think we had one show where a guy was like, someone needs to defenestrate that guy. And I was like, no. And we'd take it down. The issue is this. First, liability on us. If we host a show where someone directs an individual to attack a person, defenestrate, of course, defenestrate, meaning to throw out the window. Please don't say that. There's a legal liability where they can say, like, you hosted this individual, you knew what they were saying, blah, blah, blah. And it's limited. It is. But YouTube also says no to this kind of stuff. And depending on if they're trying to censor you, and they usually are, it's a no-go. But the reality is also this. If you say there's going to be an out-and-out brawl and you use allusions to violence in your speech, we already had 2 attempts on Donald Trump's life, plus a plot, a third being a plot. We got to simmer everything down. And I know people say like, oh, Trump says fight, fight, fight. He's not saying physically. And I would defend, there's a line. If you want to say we're going to fight for what we believe in, fight literally does mean politically, legally, or otherwise. A brawl out and out, adding out and out to the brawl is outright saying there's going to be violence. So even if you don't mean it, I don't recommend you use that language. AOC, okay. But I'm not going to pretend like she came out saying go beat people up or anything like that. But I do love that we're here. We're at the point now where, what is this? MSN.com is running a how close is the U.S. to a second civil war slideshow. That's right. I covered this before, but like, this is where we are in this country. Could a second civil war actually happen? From the Post and Courier, a second civil war in the forecast, our better angels will not allow it. Winthrop poll says SC expects civil war, it seems. This is the point I'm getting to. We're at a point now where like half the country thinks we're on the verge of a civil war. And I know Tim Pool is saying civil war. I ain't making this up. I didn't make Post and Courier write this story. Okay. I'm looking at you guys. Don't point that finger at me. The latest Winthrop University poll was still in the field when the storm came. The results mostly collected from before the hurricane named Helen slammed in South Carolina, et cetera, et cetera. Helen demonstrated yet again. South Carolina spent the past week demonstrating that when disaster hits, their first inclination is to help their neighbors. They go on to say, now back to the poll. Look at that. Look at all that patter. Winthrop headline news, as reported by the Post and Courier, was that 47% of South Carolina adults, including 53% of Republicans, believe the U.S. is either very or somewhat likely to undergo another civil war in the near future, say a decade or less. It's more than a little unnerving to think that we've become divided, that half of us expect an all-out insurrection. But look closer and notice that there's no option for a middle ground. No opportunity to say I don't really waste my time thinking about it. There's very likely, somewhat likely, unlikely, or not very likely. 70% of South Carolinians said very likely. Still more than we'd like, but nothing like that headline, 47%. Another way of looking at the poll is to say 47% chose the closest they could get to it's on my mind, with 30% saying somewhat likely, 17% saying somewhat unlikely. Please don't play games with me, dude. People fear a civil war, and you do not need a polling question of, I don't think about it. The question is, do you think so? The people who don't think about it are going to say no. The people who do follow politics and are worried are going to say yes, which puts the number around 47%. So it's less than half. But I wonder what their feelings really are, and that's the challenging thing. Are these people who are concerned about others? Are these people who are actually feeling the rage deep in their bellies and want to engage in violence themselves? I certainly hope not. But my friends, I can only tell you that we live in trying times. That's why even if AOC didn't mean to be overt and direct, and I don't think she did, I think she's just being a little too aggressive. We got to watch the language. We got to simmer things down. Here's what we want to happen. Biden and Kamala retire. Donald Trump wins. We get criminal prosecutions where there are crimes committed in government. We get firing of the bureaucratic state to what degree we can. We get border security. We get de-escalation of conflict. We get the economy back on track, energy production on track. That's the plan. Now, Ian Crossland, you know him, you love him, on Timcast IRL says we should pardon all the Democrats. And everybody is just like, are you nuts? I say no. I say no. Where applicable, anybody who committed a crime in government, manipulation, whatever, should be criminally charged and tried. It should be legitimate trial. There should be warrants, judges, etc. And the reason I say this is, if there are crimes committed, and we know there are, right, like the manipulation of emails, tampering with evidence to get one of Trump's aides arrested and charged, Carter Page, we can't just say you're allowed to do that. There has to be a limiting factor. If you engage in corruption, we, the people, will not stand for it. We do not want violence. We do not want civil war. We want accountability. I hope we get it. I hope everybody chills out. I'll wrap this one up there. Smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Share the show with everyone you know. And follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. And I'll say it one more time. Give that like button a smash. And for those that are watching live, we'll grab your super chats. For everybody else, more segments to come. Plus, we're gonna have segments up on the weekend. We're working hard. We're working hard. Plus, we've been launching a ton of shorts and just increasing the workload the best of our abilities. So thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you on the next segment. But for you guys here live, we're gonna make sure we read from you. Ryan Schubert says, hey, Tim, Teamster from Bucks County. I'll be at the rally, Trump 2024. Awesome. Glad to hear it. Apparently this event, let me pull up the post on X so I can get it for you guys, is there's going to be, oh boy, we got some fun stuff. There's going to be, I think they're saying it's like a massive venue. So I don't know too much. I don't know enough. Just that we're going there to speak because we have to. We have to be involved. We got to stand up. Can't just sit back and ignore things, my friends. Can't just sit back. So let me scroll down. Here we go. The power of unity. The power of unity. Here we go. Tim Pool, Jack Posobiec, Scott Pressler, Newtown, PA. Sunday, October 13th, 2 to 5 p.m. 120 Pheasant Run, Newtown, PA. 18940. Coordinated by the Doylestown Republican Social Club. They got a QR code you can scan to register. But yeah, we'll be there. I'm really excited. The people organizing it reached out and they said, we need speakers. And I was like, I'll do it. I got to do it, man. You know, I've been living in my cave. I sit here all day and we do the show, but it's time to get out on the ground and actually start making a difference. But we do have a story discussing, and a Kasparian. We talked about this yesterday, but I do think there's more to be said because there was an article I didn't actually get to. In these times, losing their mind, the leftists who turn right, the right-wing issue. Let's talk about it, my friends. Let's grab a couple more super chats before we do. Mounji says, quote, it's stupid Trump stood up, and that's why no one will remember your name. Indeed, indeed. Trump was being a champion, and that means he took great risk to himself. Look, man, some see, let me put it this way. There's a burning building, and you hear a baby crying, and a man runs full speed into that building. Some would say he's stupid. Is he a moron? He can't save that kid. Some would say he's his hero. Let me tell you a story. This was like a year or so ago. A guy's house is on fire. His dogs were trapped inside. And he ran into the burning building with the firefighters trying to stop him to save his dogs. And because his dog couldn't get out. It's like the door was closed or something. And I think they tried to criminally charge him, or they may have. You can't run in. You risked yourself. And I'm like, some would call him stupid. I'd call him a hero. It's both. Some would say, you're really going to risk your life for a dog? Listen, anybody who's got a good dog knows the dog may live only 15 years, but you know that your dog would sacrifice himself for you. And people weigh it in the utilitarian manner that you're going to live for 80 years and you got a family and whatever and friends. The dog's going to be around for 50. Don't run to a burning building for a dog. No way. I reject that. I don't think that I reject that outright. You know, we have dogs because they helped us evolve and survive. This is the history of man and dog. Read the history of how dogs came to be domesticated. Humans and wolves, slowly over time, being pushed together. Maybe the quick version. Wolves would scavenge human nomadic refuse. And this is a long time ago. The wolves that were not as scared of humans, having a lower flight time, they call it, the distance between which a human can approach a wolf and the wolf would flee, those wolves with a lower flight time were more successful because they had more to scavenge. Humans who had a lower flight time from wolves, indeed the same. Some human tribes would shoo the wolves off and attack them, scared of the predators. Some human tribes would say, the wolves don't bother us, leave them alone. The humans that ignored the wolves benefited because the wolves marked their territory and the scent of urine would scare away other larger predators, decreasing the confrontations with bears and other large animals. The wolves and humans were creating an accidental symbiotic benefit to each other. Over a long enough period of time, this pressure pushed them closer together till eventually you had proto-dogs that were walking around the tribes. Eventually, the humans realized if we follow them, they're hunting big game. The humans would bring weapons, take down a massive beast, and the wolves and the humans would thrive. Humans and wolves worked together, and it helped humans succeed and grow, and that's why dogs are man's best friend. And I don't care if they live 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, whatever. We know that dogs are there for us, and we should be there for them to the best of our abilities. So I do not think it is stupid to say that you will be loyal to a pet. A cat, I don't know. Cats aren't the same, but we like our cats anyway. If I can't save a cat, I'll be sad. I'll try. But I feel that we owe a debt of loyalty to those who are loyal to us, be a dog or otherwise. That's just me. Part-time Doge says dogs would spend 100 years with us if that was their lifespan, saving the dog every time. And all you got to do is read about Hachiko the dog, okay, who waited for 10 years at a train station because he didn't know that his friend had died. The Japanese professor who had taken care of Hachiko since he was a baby had a stroke while he was at work at university. And when the train came back, Hachiko stood there waiting for him and he didn't get off the train. They tried to remove Hachiko from the train station and he would not leave. They'd take him away. He'd run right back. He was waiting for his friend. Honor and loyalty. Humans should learn a lesson from dogs. So I tell you, it may only be 10 to 15 years, but the dog doesn't ask questions. He trusts you. Do not deceive your friend, the dog. Dogs are man's best friend. And I think that I don't care if you're a human or otherwise, I believe we must have honor and integrity to those who return the favor. Loyalty. That means everything. Blind loyalty is bad. But I know that, my dogs I've had in the past, I don't have one now, but we have dogs in the family, that they would run full speed at a threat to save you, knowing that they would lose their lives because they care about you. Would you be willing to do the same for them? Or are you going to say they're a lesser being who doesn't deserve a risk and sacrifice? I don't like that idea. That's just me. Anyway, let's get back to the news. Dogs are great, by the way. Here we go. From Fox News, progressive journalist unleashes on liberal intolerance that drove her away from the Democratic Party. You've seen the story. We talked about it yesterday, but there is still some more here to talk about. They woke me up, Anna Kasparian said, about being lectured by liberals after getting sexually assaulted in 2022. Anna Kasparian, as the story goes, for those that didn't see the story yesterday, has published an article saying she's independent and unaligned. She has gone on, and of course she's on the progressive channel, The Young Turks, explained how she was sexually assaulted by a homeless man. When she complained about it, she got attacked by the left. She said on Twitter, please don't call me a birthing person. That's humiliating. And they attacked her for it. She goes on to say, instead of engaging with her arguments, they made out of context videos to insult an attacker and make money off them. Indeed, they did. And this is what the progressive left does on YouTube and other social media platforms. Anna, who I believe has absolutely participated in such things, is now a victim of it. I didn't think the leopards were going to eat my face, says Seamus Coughlin the other night, talking about this. But as I've addressed much of this and read her letter, there is still some more to the idea of the left, leftists leaving the left and what the realization is. But the bigger question, I suppose, is outside of what Anna Kasparian's experiences are and where she will end up. We have losing the plot. This is a story from last year. The leftists who turn right. In these times, it's quite upset that there are people who are liberal and left-leaning who are saying you are a cult, you are insane. And I will tell you this. Anna Kasparian has a lot to learn. The more she goes on this journey of open-mindedness, she is going to be considered far right in a matter of minutes. The reason is, being right is not about your political ideology. It's about who you communicate with. Politics only flows in one direction. Here's an example. If there is a picture of me with a bunch of leftists, the left will say, let's say there's 5 Antifa, a group right here, and me standing next to them. They will say, all of those people cavorting with Tim Pool are far right, they're hypocrites, they're liars. Huh. If I stand alongside a bunch of conservatives and say, haha, that proves that Tim Pool's right wing. There's no circumstance where you can stand with leftists and they will call you left wing. It's always just their right wing now. Politics flows in one direction. So if Anna Kasparian starts talking with conservatives and saying, I disagree, and she says, I'm pro-choice, I'm critical of Israel, they're going to say, oh, she's far right because she's friends with Trump supporters, because she's entertaining their arguments. What happens then? She's going to start to learn things, and she's going to change her political opinions because the left doesn't care about facts. They really don't. So as she's on this journey, let's talk about the others who are leaving the left, and I'm here for it. I can see right there they bring up Max Blumenthal. Oh boy, Max. What a lefty. And we've had him on the show. I'm not sure if we've had him on twice or once, but he's great. It's funny when he's like, I got to defend Trump on some of this foreign policy stuff I do. And I'm like, I got you. It's true. It's not that it's a fact. When you see libertarians say, well, you know, Trump foreign policy was better than the rest of them. Is it just libertarians going far right? Leftists going far right? Here's what they write. How to name the rude currents eroding the left. Those which have claimed the hearts, minds, and Substack so many former friends and fellow travelers. There are the journalist provocateurs and the readers who have followed them rightward. The Trumpers come lately marching onto Glenn Greenwald's rumble or vanishing into Max Blumenthal's gray zone. There are those not quite there yet, such as Anna Kasparian of the Young Turks. Oh, she's there now. Currently mourning the leftism, she now believes gaslit her about a crime wave it refuses to admit. I'm going through some very, very real and sincere disaffected Democrats podcast in July, and it's uncomfortable. It is indeed. Consider the dislocation that flickers across the face of journalist Matt Taibbi in interviews this summer for the conspiracist right-wing Epoch Times. Acclaimed by the left wing during Occupy Wall Street as a scourge of corporate power, Taibbi is best known for his years at Rolling Stone. When the day eventually comes, the, quote, vampire squid relentlessly jamming its blood funnel into anything that smells like money, Taibbi's unforgettable embodiment of Goldman Sachs in a 2010 article will haunt his obituary. No, it won't, because Matt Taibbi's opinions haven't changed. Y'all are just a deranged cult. I just recently talked to Matt Taibbi. It was fun. He was criticizing John Kerry, saying the First Amendment is in the way. And I responded with what was black ooze pouring out of his mouth as he was speaking. And then Matt, much to my honor, said, can I use that on stage? I was like, absolutely. It's an honor and a privilege, good sir. I know, Matt. I was at Occupy Wall Street, too. Oh, there, I said it. Matt Taibbi still is critical of corporate power, big pharma, government mandates on medication. And the left is like, we're fine with that. When did y'all start suckling the teat of big corporations, dude? Yeah, and we're the ones who lost our minds? Well, Taibbi insists his politics haven't changed, and they haven't. An oddly conservative way to insist one hasn't become conservative. His surroundings certainly have. Weaving a velvety brown jacket, jeans, and his default smirk, he sat for his Epoch Times interview at the Libertarian Freedom Fest conference. This year, in addition to Taibbi, it featured as speakers presidential candidates RFK Jr., an independent, who's a Democrat, Vivek Ramaswamy, a Republican, along with Tulsi Gabbard, former Democrat, united in their contempt for wokeness. Epoch Times' Jan Jekielek appointed Taibbi an American thought leader. Indeed he is. Let's go. They're just going to keep ragging on Matt Taibbi. Consider the case of David Horowitz, once a founding sponsor of this magazine, more recently author of Blitz, Trump Will Smash the Left and Win. Or after him, Christopher Hitchens, whose knowledge of Iraqi Baathism led him after 9/11 to align first with U.S. neocons and ultimately with the very kind of religious nationalists he so long derided. We might mark 9/11 as the moment when many who believed they were for peace given to the notion that it can only be won through war. How about this? Trump is the anti-war candidate. He is. Kamala Harris is the pro-war candidate. They say, but the present left-to-right acceleration began in earnest with the onset of Trump. There are the intellectuals in exile, The scholars who once contained complaints about free speech or diversity initiatives metastasize into broad contrarianism that found new patrons. There are the not so funny anymore comedians, once known for their left politics, Chappelle and Roseanne and Russell Brand, pulled rightward by jokes. I want to give a hearty shout out to Russell Brand, who has gone so far right. He's Christian. I bet they cried over that one. I will stress, as I often do, I am not a Christian, but I am friends with many. And I respect the Christian beliefs or Jewish beliefs or whatever you want to believe. But the left cannot handle it. They lose their minds at the thought of someone finding Christ. Aw. It's funny because Russell Brand is still funny. Seamus Coughlin is ruthlessly funny, and he's Catholic. And I don't see what the problem is. We are the big tent party with RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard, and y'all can keep crying about it. Uh-oh, here we go. There's the new right's very own Kennedy, Robert F. Jr. Of the bulging biceps, RFK Jr. may seem, with his campaign push-ups, little more than a joke to young leftists, but his history as a champion of intersectional environmentalism is long. And he is bringing this Make America Healthy Again environmentalist policy to Donald Trump's administration. You are a cult if you cannot recognize that Donald Trump bringing on RFK Jr. moderates his administration and gives us the environmentalism many of us wanted for so long. I am sick of the garbage in our foods. I am sick of the pesticides. I am sick of the chemicals. And so we got RFK Jr. now. Who do you have? Dick Cheney. Congratulations. I don't know if Max Blumenthal is going to be voting for Donald Trump, but when talking about war and conflict, he's even in agreement with us and we with him. Let's bring the real unity party together. But these people can't handle it. Why? Oh, no, Roseanne is right wing now. Oh, no, RFK Jr., Russell Brand. Dave Chappelle hasn't changed a bit. He was ragging on Candace Owens. But he makes fun of your crazy ideas because you're a cult. And I am here for it. This is cathartic. I left the left or whatever, right? I never did a video where I said I'm leaving the left or anything like that. Because, you know, I don't care to say anything like that. But of course, I'm not on the left. I've been hypercritical of them because they're a cult. But my views on policy and morality and government function are still moderately liberal. Conservatives recognize it. But I've explained it this way. We used to have, let's call it this big sphere that is the United States culture. And within it, you had the left and the right and the moderates in between. At some point, there was a malignant bump just growing on it. Or budding occurred. That's what we call it, budding, when it starts growing off and then flops off. This is the left, isolated in its entirety from the core structure of the American political community. That is to say, I'm actually a liberal. Ben Shapiro, actually a conservative. We recognize that of each other, and we get along really, really well. And our conversations are cordial. And, last time I talked to Ben a couple weeks ago, he says, I think you and I disagree on some foreign policy stuff. And it's like, how simple is that? And then there's the left. Fall in line or else we will destroy you. But you know what? Cut off from the rest of us, it's withering away. Bye-bye, Dick Cheney. Join sides with these individuals. This is what they're lamenting. Horseshoe theory, the horseshoe hour. Jimmy Dore, once another left comedian who lost hold of the joke, now marvels over as meeting the minds of Tucker Carlson. We should do a show together called the Horseshoe Hour. When Jimmy Dore, who's economically left, has a good conversation with Tucker, that's called the Unity Party. That's us, my friends. So what do they say? As they complain, they cry, and they whinge. They lost everybody. I mean, Naomi Wolf they bring up. Look at this. Bye. All that's going to happen, more and more, the left is going to lose people who wake up. You know, there are a lot of people that I know, I don't want to call them out directly, but they've had awakenings recently. There's one person I've known for a long time, and they would just post anti-Trump stuff, and I never bothered them over it. I'd interact sometimes. I'd say, well, what about this? One day, I see a post from them. Trump. Wow. I knew somebody who was a BLM activist, marching for Black Lives Matter, leftist. One day, she's posting, Trump must win. And I was like, you too? Wow. Because people are waking up. You're allowed to be critical of Trump. You're allowed to be offended by Trump. But you recognize he's got a better job. He's going to do a better job. You recognize Tulsi Gabbard, Elon, RFK Jr., we got the Unity Party that we were begging for. So let them cry. But the left cult is breaking and they're losing their minds over it. Look at this. The hand reaching to fire, please. I'll wrap this one up there, my friends. Smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with everyone you know. Share it. It really does help. And you can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. You can become a member at timcast.com. More to come. Oh, man, you're going to love this one. CBS anchor got put through the struggle session for daring to question woke Ta-Nehisi Coates. You work for the corporate press, what you get. This one from the Daily Wire. For everybody watching, those segments will be up later, but we are going to have your super chats now live. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you on the next segment. All right, we will grab some more. Chininator says, great, thanks, Tim. Now you got this grown man crying over a dog in Japan. If ever a man was allowed to cry, it is because a dog died. I think there's like, everybody loves dogs, of course, right? But men really, really get it. You know what I mean? Like, we really get it. I imagine the great battles of old, or even today, and the trauma suffered by our men and women in uniform when their friends die in battle. And what that means to lose your best friend who you laughed and you joked with, it's traumatizing. You get PTSD, flashbacks. I once, I want to be careful because people have asked me to chill on this stuff because it can affect people negatively. But, I once saw a car accident and it was gruesome. The injury that I saw. I won't describe it, but it was so severe. I had a feeling I can't describe and I have no word for. I'd never experienced before. I wonder if people who have seen true conflict understand what that feeling is. I can't explain it, but I think first responders understand because they've experienced it. But there's like no word for what I felt. It's horrifying. Now, to the point of dogs, because it's much less severe, but still severe. Your dog is loyal to you in all respects. Not every single dog all the time, but, your dog looks up to you, will defend you, and will sacrifice himself for you. So when you know that this pet of yours, a family member who is there and wants to keep you safe and happy and protect you along with what you care about, it's sad when they die. And that's why I hear a story of a guy running into a fire to save his dog, and I champion that man. A grown man crying over a dog in Japan. It's not just about the dog. See, the thing is this. If a human being died, and they had a brother, a father, a son, and that person was standing at a train station, you'd simply walk up and say, you can't wait anymore. I'm sorry. He passed away. We're going to tell you where he is. And you'd accept this. They say that dogs need to smell the death to understand the death. So when the Japanese professor died, but was nowhere near Hachiko was never given confirmation of death and refused to do anything about it. Dogs do mourn. The dog will smell the person has died and will mourn the death and move on eventually. Wolves do this too. We are social creatures, wolves and humans. We are pack animals. And so we have these similarities. So, yes, I say, they say men shouldn't cry. I don't know if I had a dog, I've had many dogs in my life. If I had a dog today and he sacrificed himself for me, I would cry. No question. That is honor above everything. And I think too, the reason why we feel this way about dogs is because I hate to say it, but some humans lack honor. And so we do cry for humans who sacrifice themselves because some do have honor. But that like the dog just loves you and there's no ulterior motives. They're not trying to steal your house. They don't want to enter into a false business contract. They're not going to try and rip you off. They may steal a piece of cake from the counter and you laugh about those things. The worst case scenario for your dog, he's going to steal your pancake when you're not looking. He's not going to steal your house, betray you in business, run away with your wife, All right. Blaga says, did you see Elon folded on Brazil to get reinstated there? I heard something a bit about that. I heard there's challenges there and questions about the benefit versus the negatives. There's not a lot I can say on this right now, but let me just say, I trust Elon Musk and I'm not going to immediately come out and abandon the work that he's doing, which is beneficial to all of us because he's imperfect and has failed in some regards. But let's jump to this next story. I love this one. We got this one from the Daily Wire. CBS anchor met with race and culture unit following question of Ta-Nehisi Coates. Tony Ducapil told colleagues he regretted putting them in a tough position, but stood by his questioning. Oh my God, this is amazing. So this dude is interviewing like an anti-racist, woke guy, dares to ask a question, and they make him do the re-education seminar. Bravo, CBS Mornings. Check this out. A CBS Mornings anchor who pressed woke activist Ta-Nehisi Coates on his new book about the Israel-Gaza conflict was forced to meet with the network's race and culture unit. Tony Ducapil spent an hour with the CBS News Standards and Practice team at its in-house race and culture unit, during which he was lectured about the tone, phrasing, and body language he used during his interview with Coates. His body... Yo, I got to give a shout out to Matt Walsh. What's the Do the Work workshop, right? I got to pull this up. Let's talk about body language. Look at, do you over smile? Wait for it. There you go. That for those that are just listening, I know you can't see it, but one of the jokes in Am I Racist is that and this is real stuff. They tell Matt Walsh that over smiling is racist. So for their DEI seminar, they made a do you over smile, and it shows varying degrees of smiling, where one's just a regular smile, and with increasing insanity, the last one looks like someone who's suffering some kind of mental breakdown. It looks like the Joker. So the point is, his body language was offensive, so he had to do the struggle session. Dude, I am so happy I don't work for these corporations. I am so happy that we exist, that, Steven Crowder, Daily Wire, Blaze. I'm so happy, Dave Rubin. I'm so happy that there's an alternative media space where we don't struggle session people for body language. Following the meeting, Ducapil met with staffers and told them he regretted putting his colleagues in that position, especially the ones overseas and in danger. There were... I'm sorry. There were tears. People were very upset. The source told the Post that staffers were divided on the situation in Israel and troubled by his questioning of Coates. Sources told the Post that Ducapil didn't apologize for his questioning, which pressed Coates on his views of Palestinians as perpetual victims. For as sure as my ancestors were born into a country where none of them were equal of any white man, Israel was revealing itself to be a country where no Palestinian is ever equal of any Jewish person anywhere, Coates wrote in his book. Ducapil, who is Jewish, pressed Coates on the particular framing. I have to say, when I read the book, I imagine if I took your name out of it, took away the awards, the acclaim, took the cover of the book, publishing house goes away, the content of that section would not be out of place in the backpack of an extremist. Bravo! Ducapil said in the interview, according to CNN. Ducapil also pushed Coates to answer why he left out so many facts in the book that were beneficial to Israel. Why leave out that Israel is surrounded by countries that want to eliminate it? Why leave out that Israel deals with terror groups that want to eliminate it? He asked. Fair question. Now, look, the people who don't like Israel are going to get mad, say, oh, you. No. I don't care if you're critical of Israel. You're allowed to be, but you're allowed to ask. Give us a real answer to this. And I'll give a shout out to Dave Smith, who's critical of Israel. I know that Dave would, in good faith, answer those questions. And he would give reasonable answers. And he would concede some points and contest others. Real debate needs to happen. I respect a journalist who wants to ask these questions, and they deserve legitimate answers. Coates didn't get upset or hostile towards his questioning, and responded by saying his book was not supposed to be an exact history of the conflict, but about different perspective, even though the perspective he put forth is the dominating one in academic and media circles. I am most concerned always with those who don't have a voice, Coates said. Following the interview, some correspondents and producers at CBS complained that he was biased towards Israel and showed that bias during his interview with Coates. This is the outright scumbaggery of the corporate press. A real journalist is going to ask a question that needs to be asked, even if it's one people may not want asked. He may be biased, that's fine. But if Coates is coming out outright and saying pro-Palestine, and anti-Israel, then it is incumbent upon the journalist to say, well, let's entertain the counterpoint. How would you respond to these questions? There's no bias in that. It's that these woke corporations are far left. We know they're far left. And so they're going to struggle session this guy for daring to ask that question. When Ducapil was forced into a meeting and to apologize to coworkers, CBS did nothing While he was, CBS said nothing when Gayle King lectured the father of an 8-year-old Israeli girl who was being held hostage by Hamas that he needed to have compassion for Palestinians as well.
But now this seems to be all about politics. What do you say about that? You know, you have innocent children in Palestinians who are dying, innocent Israeli children who are dying, and no one seems to be able to say enough, stop that.
I'm not interested in politics at all. My only concern is getting Emily back.
Jeez. The man's daughter is being held hostage, dude. And he doesn't want to talk politics. Now, I will say, I will defend Gayle King to a certain degree. I don't know that that's the right question for a dad whose daughter is held hostage and he's saying, I just want my daughter back. Comparing them, I don't think is necessarily fair. I actually think a reprimand, I don't want a reprimand. I think it's fine. You don't need a struggle session. You don't need to send someone to the DEI boss. You go to the Gayle King and say, hey, maybe don't ask the dad whose daughter's kidnapped about the political stuff, just for future reference. That's all you got to do, right? That's it. Here's what you get. But let's talk about Ta-Nehisi Coates, right? Who is this guy? They gave him a Marvel issue several years ago. It got canceled after 2 issues. He is as woke as they come. Okay, but what do Americans think? Well, let me show you. The Hill says, most Americans favor DEI programs survey. According to the Washington Post, 61% of Americans think it's a good thing for companies to take up DEI programs. Unheard. Washington Post misleads readers with DEI poll. What I love about this is, imagine if I went to you and I said, do you like having your, I was going to be really crass with it, but I'll tone it down. Do you like it when people flick your ears? You know what I mean? You're going to be like, no, I don't like it at all. And you're going to go, actually, you do. And they're going to say, what? When the Washington Post tells people that most Americans enjoy nuisance, annoyance, and racism, you're just telling people themselves who don't like it that other people do. They're trying to convince everybody that's normal. Unheard says, the Washington Post released this poll showing 61% of Americans think DEI is a good thing. Meanwhile, businesses around the country are gutting DEI programs. The example demonstrates the degree to which the framing of an opinion poll can influence the results. What we might ask is the fuller description of DEI that represents what we're offered. Is it, quote, programs to hire more employees from groups that are underrepresented in the workforce, such as racial and ethnic minorities and people with disabilities, and to promote equity in the workplace? The first thing we might notice here is that the most important word to define in the DEI trinity is the most prone to misrepresentation. Equity goes undefined. Let me simplify it because Unheard doesn't get a little verbose. Let me ask you a question. Do you think it, here we go. Is it bad? We're doing a poll here. Guys, answer the question in the comments. Is it bad if a business overwhelmingly hires only one race of people? What do you think? And I think most people would say yes. Why? Because the implication is they're intentionally targeting a race of people. I didn't say that, though. I said they overwhelmingly hire one race of people. Majority of this country is white. The majority of the company's employees are going to be white. That's not because they're racist. That's not because they hate minorities. It's because the applicants are overwhelmingly white, and you are going to see that relationship. Then you said, do you think companies that overwhelmingly only hire, and you see why I'm playing word games here, groups of one race should try better to hire people of other races? And people are going to be like, yeah. And they're going to go, bang, this person supports DEI. No, they don't. Because DEI is when a journalist asks a question and they send you to a struggle session where people are crying. That's DEI. The reality is, a company that only hires one race of people, the question needs to be broken down. But they'll try and trick you. Imagine sitting with a journalist and they go, do you think it's bad if a company is mostly hiring one race? I'd say, no, I don't think so. Oh, you're racist. No. What I'm saying is, if a company is based out of Omaha, Nebraska or something, and most people who live there are white, they're mostly hiring white people. I have no problem with that. Now, if the question is, the owner of the company intentionally refuses to hire people based on race, I say that's bad. So if you come to me and say, Should there be should companies be allowed to reject applicants based on race? My answer is, well, it depends. You see, there's a challenge here. In acting, in movies, there are certain industries where you are allowed to hire based on race. Hollywood is a good example. They're exempt from all this. They say, we have a character. He's a large black man. We're not going to hire a white person for this. The script calls for a large black male. You are allowed to hire based on that. So sometimes it's fine. If they don't get to the nitty gritty, they use polls to manipulate. You will say, I think it's wrong. And they'll say, bang, this person supports DEI. That's the trick. But I got to hand it to CBS. You reap what you sow. I mean, shout out to this guy for asking the honest questions and trying to push back. But I do love that this is how the corporate press operates. We'll leave it there, my friends. Smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with everyone you know. Become a member at timcast.com. Follow me on X at Timcast and Instagram. We're not done. I got one more. We'll go a little late today. My team may yell at me, but we're going to get it for you. Aliens. For fun, for the weekend. Smash that like button, subscribe. We'll see you all tonight at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. If you're watching live, we'll grab your super chats now. All right, my friends. We'll just grab one quick one because I got 5 minutes left before we have to wrap. And the reason why we do is because to get everything uploaded and scheduled, we have to be doing the editing and the work. So hard stopping at noon matters, but you know. The Emperor's Champion says Tulsi Gabbard talked about getting rid of the NFA in an interview a few months ago. She came to that conclusion after talking to gun owners. There we go. David B. Gooch says, Tim, men understand losing a dog so strongly because it's the only unconditional love a man will ever feel. Indeed, that may be true. That may be true. I do think it's true for women as well. I don't think that every human has unconditional love, but dogs, it is unconditional. You can boop the dog on the nose and the dog will be sad and the dog will still try to win your affections back. And, it's funny because we have a cat named Seamus and he'll act up and then, you reprimanding a cat, but then he gets really sad and he goes sulks in the corner and you have to apologize, and be nice to him. He's a funny kitty. We like cats too, but cats aren't like dogs. Bonus segment time, ladies and gentlemen. Aliens. Had to do it. The Daily Mail says the Pentagon's secret UFO data retrieval program, Immaculate Constellation, revealed for the first time in new whistleblower report. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. The lid has been blown off. The Pentagon's got aliens in the books. I'm half kidding. Let's read and talk about aliens. A secretive Pentagon UFO data retrieval program has been hidden from congressional oversight since 2017, a new report claims. Whistleblowers assert the program, codenamed Immaculate Constellation, was established to detect and quarantine the military's best UFO imagery, as well as its best videos, eyewitness testimonies, and electronic sensor evidence. This trove of high-quality multi-sensor UFO data is so tightly held that talking about it will put you in the danger zone, according to a U.S. official who confirmed the leak. Oh boy, this is getting fun, huh? The quite literally above top secret program allegedly sprang into action in the wake of the 2017 leak of 3 still as of yet unexplained U.S. Navy infrared UFO videos. The Pentagon spokesperson denied the existence of the program Tuesday evening, telling reporters the Department of Defense has no record, present or historical, of any type of special access programs called Immaculate Constellation. Oh boy, man. Well, I'm gonna do this. I'm going to give a quick shout out before we go a little bit too further into our show, which we're going to have up for you tonight. Tales from the Inverted World on YouTube. Check it out. Subscribe. Shane Cashman later today. For those that are watching live, not today, but on Sunday, we'll be talking about this live with guest callers, various stories of the weird, the wild, the mysteries. So check out Tales from the Inverted World on YouTube, but let's keep reading. They go on to say, by law, classified programs like SAPs must be disclosed to the so-called Gang of Eight, which includes the chairs and ranking members of the House and Senate Intelligence Committees and other key lawmakers. However, the source of the leaked report, who supplied the document to the independent news site The Public, described the program as an unacknowledged special access program, or USAP, with unique secrecy privileges. Reporting in defense publication Jane's Defense first revealed the existence of USAPs decades ago, showing that government officials were authorized to lie publicly and deny their existence. How about when we had, who was it? Well, was it Clapper? who lied about NSA spying. Maybe not. I'm forgetting the guy's name. Is that it? Was it? I don't think it was Clapper. I don't know. But yeah, they lie about stuff all the time. Is the NSA doing mass surveillance on the American people? No. Psych. Public's anonymous source alleged that such depictions were now occurring on the issues of non-human intelligence and unidentified aerial phenomena. The executive branch has been managing UAP NHI issues without congressional knowledge, oversight, or authorization for some time, quite possibly decades, this anonymous whistleblower wrote in their report to Congress. Check this out. An excerpt for the 2000 issue of National Security Magazine, Jane's International Defense Review, in which reporter Bill Sweetman first made public the existence of unacknowledged special access programs. International cover is supported by two mechanisms inherent in the structure of unacknowledged SAPs that result in the dissemination of plausible but false data or disinformation. Confronted with the unauthorized use of program name or a specific question, an accessed individual may deny all knowledge of a program, as he should, because its existence is a core secret and a mere no comment is tantamount to confirmation. The questioner, who may not be aware that an accessed individual must respond with a denial, will believe that denial and spread it further. Look at this stuff. That's wild, dude. The whistleblower who claims to have authored the report to Congress described the Immaculate Constellation USAP as a strategic intelligence program and only one part of how the U.S. military currently deals with its UAP problem. UAP problem. If proven to be legitimate, the program would show those now infamous Navy UFO videos, known as the Tic Tac, Go Fast, and Gimbal, to be just the tip of the U.S. government's UFO data iceberg. The multitude of wavelengths collected by these sensors have captured UAP characteristics that are difficult or impossible to observe with the human eye alone, according to the leaked report, allegedly intended for cleared members of Congress. Subtle atmospheric effects associated with UAPs are also visible through the sensors employed by the U.S. military and intelligence agencies, the leaked report added. The verifiable chain of custody for UAP, IMINT, meaning high-quality imagery intelligence collected by U.S. military assets, the report continues, ensures a high level of confidence in the accuracy and integrity of the data gathered. This alleged leaked classified report to Congress also described an incident in which a swarm of orb UFOs surrounded an F-22 stealth Raptor, forcing it off course. The F-22 broke trajectory and attempted to evade, according to the alleged report, but was intercepted and boxed in by approximately 3 to 6 UAPs. This is unidentified aerial phenomena. One maneuvered in proximity with more than 12 meters to the area directly starboard of the cockpit, as this whistleblower report described the pilot's testimony. There, the UAP established a rigid spatial relationship with the F-22, maintaining its exact position and orientation parallel with the F-22's cockpit, despite multiple evasive rolls and maneuvers. Dude, could you imagine being a pilot and an orb locks on and is just tracking you, and you try rolling and dodging, and it doesn't leave? That's crazy, dude. Look at this. Flying saucers? What? I don't believe this. Come on, really? The whistleblower's report is said to make reference not just UFOs, but to ARVs, short for Alien Reproduction Vehicle, meaning successfully reverse-engineered alien spacecraft. Above, a page from the U.S. Air Force's Project 1794, which was declassified in 2012. They're legit saying they got UFOs, that they've rebuilt them. I wonder. The thing about a saucer that I find interesting is they could just be quad-rotor or octorotor vehicles. You see a saucer in the sky, and you don't know how it flies, and it moves so quickly, but maybe it's just like, quad-rotor. Or maybe it is utilizing some kind of centrifuge of some sort. Don't ask me. I'm not a physicist. The whistleblower, whose identity is being tightly held for his own safety, according to the public, believes the purpose of the USAP is to hide such amazing encounters. In his report to Congress, the source described Immaculate Constellation as a means of enforcing internal information security, capturing new UFO reports before they are observed and circulated within military intelligence enterprise. A second source, a former U.S. intelligence community official, confirmed the authenticity and existence of Immaculate Constellation to public, stating that program is run out of SecDef, Office of the Secretary of Defense. They don't want to acknowledge it's real. This intelligence source opined they won't comment on it. The source also noted that the simple public utterance of the name Immaculate Constellation would be sufficient to trigger government surveillance of those who publish it under the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. Well, not me, because I'm an American citizen, right? Right? Hey, guys. They're already spying on me, I know. But it's funny because, people are like, aren't you worried? We don't have them anymore, but we used to have like Alexa. Oh, sorry for saying it. And people are like, aren't you worried you got those spy devices everywhere? They're spying on your phones. And I'm like, dude, I go live it's 5 hours a day. I say literally everything on my mind about what I think about everything. The only, you know what they're going to hear if they're spying on me on my phone? They're going to hear me say something like, I ain't taking monocrypt out of my deck. They can ban Jeweled Lotus all they want. And most of you are like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Exactly. And then they're going to hear me say something like, I'm going to sacrifice 2 spirits for 2 red, tap 4, and I'll cast Capsize with buyback and bounce it. And then I pass turn. That's what they're going to hear from my phone. Because when I'm not doing this, like we're literally just compiling stories or editing, or I'm like, playing Magic or something. We play quite a bit. Anyway, they say they enforce the secrecy with a lot of vigor, while still improving the explosive claims surrounding the alleged Immaculate Constellation UFO program collection echoes comments made very publicly by very senior former U.S. intel officials. I think some of the phenomena we may be seeing, ex-CIA head John Brennan told reporters in 2021, results from something that we don't yet understand and could involve some type of activity that some might say constitutes a different form of life. Interesting indeed. Well, this year has been rife with historical unprecedented moments. We'll call it that. Historical precedents. I mean, look, 2 hurricanes, maybe a 3rd now, right before an election, could change everything. 2 assassination attempts, 1 where Trump actually took a bullet, grazing him. Fortunately, he survives, right? We're terrified of this stuff. But the entire past several years have just been a spattering of what we would call interesting times. If they were to come out and just be like, aliens are real, here's proof, I'd be like, oh yeah, how about that? That's the conspiracy theory. The conspiracy theory is that they are trickling out this information on UFOs so that finally when they say, yes, it's real, everyone will go, we knew it. Because if they just come out now and say it, people could be shocked and it could cause economic chaos. But I'm going to wrap it up there, my friends. If you haven't smashed the like button, I question why. Check out Tales from the Inverted World on YouTube. This is a show about weird conspiracies, wild Bigfoot. What do they got? Occultists in Hollywood. You've got avoiding FEMA camps, cymatics, clouds, and cryptochrome, worshiping false prophets. Tales from the Inverted World with Shane Cashman. It's going to be live Sunday, starting at I think the 6 p.m. Hopefully, I'm not getting that wrong. But check it out for sure if you liked this segment. For everybody else, we'll grab a couple super chats and then sign off. Thanks for hanging out. Follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Become a member at timcast.com. We'll see y'all then. We'll just grab 2 more. Double A says Dokapil, who is Jewish, had to undergo training, which those with Israel derangement syndrome assert created the program in the first place. I know, right? It's funny. Nevada Loves Guns says, just got a text message from Nevada Secretary of State, Democrat. They're sending a second set of mail-in ballots because the first ones have an error. Wow. And then they can choose which ones to count. How about that? Keith Noah says the UFO leaks are intentional. See Project Blue Book. It's a distraction. Maybe. My friends, we're wrapping it up. If you're listening on the audio side, give us a good review. It really does help. I would appreciate it. Share the show with everyone you know. Follow me, timcast.com. I think y'all have heard me say it 800,000 times because I say it in every segment, so bear with me. Thank y'all so much for watching. The morning show's been fun. We are ramping up production. We're going to have segments throughout the weekends now. We're going to be, now, after I wrap this, we're going to record like 10 different shorts because that's what we got to be like. We'll do 20 shorts. We'll just keep blasting out YouTube with shorts. Thank y'all so much for hanging out. Stick around, and we'll be back tonight at 8 p.m. for youtube.com/TimcastIRL, and we'll see y'all then.